Even before things began, there was the sound of bickering. "You idiot, is the camera on yet? I'm turning it on now, you moron!" It wasn't until the screen finally displayed the recording mode that the noise gradually died down. "Hello, everyone." A second later, one of the YouTube streamers, B-rank hunter Kang Doil, greeted the audience on behalf of his team. "Welcome to the Annihilate channel. We're Annihilate and we'll raid anything." Right then, he looked like nothing more than an arrogant peacock solely focused on showing off for the camera. "Today's monster will be a C+ rank monster. I'm going to make a video on how to attack this spider species." As he spoke, Doil put on an air of expertise, casually pointing to the swarm of spiders above his head, and calmly remarking, "As you can see, these spiders live in colonies just like ants. They're also classified as arachnids." Immediately after, he even gave a contemptuous shrug, deliberately acting dismissive. However, they're completely different from Earth spiders. For example, they won't attack right away. Instead, they'll shoot out their webs first. But contrary to his words, the spiders suddenly let out a deafening screech and charged straight in to attack, to Doil's utter shock. "They're not shooting webs. They're charging straight for us, everyone." Almost simultaneously, one of them suddenly raised a sharp leg, gathering immense magical power before viciously stabbing downward. Fortunately, Doil managed to raise his sword in time to block its attack. "What the hell is going on? Just kill them first." The cameraman behind him was still dazed by what was happening. "Okay." Annihilate's cameraman, strategist, and editor Mang Siwoo still couldn't believe the situation had developed this way. No way! Because after his research, he understood very clearly that the spider's initial fighting style wasn't direct combat, but hunting. That's why they spin webs to lure their opponents into a trap first, then inject venom to paralyze their prey, leaving them to die a slow death. Therefore, there's no way they would suddenly attack like this. However, Doil wasn't in the mood for explanations. He just gritted his teeth and swore, "This damn idiot." Before officially charging in to attack the spiders, he didn't forget to issue a cold warning. "After I deal with these things, you're next, Mang Siwoo." Despite Siwoo's attempt to reason with him, no but. Immediately after, with his sharp sword in hand, Doil had almost no difficulty in cutting down one of the spiders. Almost at the same time, another spider shrieked in pain as his blade sliced across it, its body splitting in two. Following that, spider after spider fell one by one, struck down by his cold and ruthless blade. Throughout the entire process, Doil seemed completely tireless. Wherever he saw a spider, he would immediately charge and slash at it without a moment's hesitation. From the very beginning, their fate had already been sealed. They would all be defeated at his hands. In just a few moments, the spiders Doil had slain were piled up haphazardly on the ground. But in complete contrast to the scene, he felt no joy. Instead, the anger in his heart flared up even more fiercely. "What the hell was that? You said the spiders would shoot their webs first." At that moment, Siwoo's mind raced to find the reason. For the spiders to charge their prey like this, it must be their last resort. Could it be they were in a desperate situation with nothing left to lose? But that train of thought was suddenly cut short by a deafening shout. "Hey, Mang Siwoo!" Immediately, Doil grabbed him by the collar and roared in fury, "Son of a bitch, are you fucking kidding me?" Siwoo had no idea how to explain and could only manage to force out two words. "I'm sorry." But that reaction only enraged Doil further. Without hesitation, he swung his fist and punched him hard. "What the hell is sorry going to do? I almost died because of you." After the punch, Doil casually left Siwoo struggling on the ground, then turned and walked away coldly. "Do your damn research properly. Got it, you moron." As he walked, he muttered a contemptuous curse. "Damn it. Those without traits are completely useless." Those words seemed to strike the deepest chord within Siwoo, causing his gaze to lose focus. "Traits! I am an awakened." The train of thought suddenly pulled Siwoo back to the days he had to bury his face in books because he knew. "But the ability I gained after awakening is mediocre. It's nothing special, completely useless in this line of work as a hunter." Ultimately, Siwoo made it onto the battlefield using his own knowledge. And so the path I chose in order to survive was monster analysis. There, he could confidently point at a monster and advise his teammates, "That monster up ahead, its weak point is," and show the other hunters how to attack them. But in the present, Doil showed nothing but contempt for Siwoo's knowledge and personal abilities. "Idiot, I nearly got killed because of that moron. If it weren't for me, you guys would be dead too." Because he was too busy bragging, he didn't notice his two friends trembling like leaves. Doil! Only after his friend's warning did Doil feel a chill run down his spine from a dangerous glare. Its giant legs slammed powerfully into the ground with a thunderous roar. A boss-level spider was frantically chasing Siwoo's group. It's a high-rank monster run. They had no way of withstanding even a single one of its attacks, so their only option was to run for their lives. In that life-or-death moment, Doil accidentally dropped his sword. "Am I really going to die like this, damn it, my sword?" As he turned his head, he happened to see Siwoo also running for his life. "If I want to survive in a place like this, I need a bait." The moment that idea flashed through his mind, Doil kicked Siwoo's body hard, causing him to cry out in pain. Only then did his whole body suddenly radiate intense pleasure and malice as he declared, "It's you, my young Siwoo." He struggled to support his aching body, scrambling to get up as he cursed, "You bastard!" But the monster's roar suddenly snapped Siwoo back to his current reality. His entire body trembled uncontrollably as he sensed the giant frenzied spider right behind him. Even so, in this very moment, Siwoo could only reluctantly turn his head to look back because my body won't listen to me anymore. Seeing its massive, sharp fangs, all that was left in his heart was indescribable despair. Am I gonna die like this? And in that moment, Siwoo seemed to see himself back in the hospital, hearing his mother's gentle voice calling Siwoo. Hearing his mother call his name, a worried Siwoo asked, "Yes, Mom?" In her final moments, his mother had entrusted him with a solemn duty: "You must protect Seo-ah." Those words were like a tonic, snapping Siwoo out of his panic. "No, I can't die here. Not when I have my little sister I have to protect Seo-ah." He reached out and grabbed the sword that had fallen to the ground. This time, facing the terrifying giant spider monster, Siwoo had only one burning desire: I have to survive. He didn't know what gave him the courage, but he charged forward to fight it no matter the cost. But before Siwoo could even act, something suddenly swooped down and blew the spider monster to bits, sending him flying. What was that? Before he could even process what had just happened, Siwoo caught something out of the corner of his eye. A man with brilliant golden hair was slowly rising from the smoldering ashes. The immense power radiating from him proved he was a strong hunter, but Siwoo had no idea who this person was. Who is he? A moment later, the entire area suddenly erupted in a pale purple light. Such a shocking development immediately drew both of their attention. A white-haired man in a state of frenzy roared, "Where are you hiding, you bastard?" And Siwoo, of course, had no clue who this newcomer was either. Another one. Before he could even figure out what was going on, the white-haired man was already charging forward. He angrily raised his fist to attack. "You arrogant bastard! You can't run anymore!" Seeing this, even an idiot could vaguely figure it out. What are they fighting each other? The white-haired man poured all his dark purple energy into that single punch. The golden-haired man also charged in, fiercely unleashing his own attack. The two of them, wielding destructive power, were now like wild beasts bent on destroying each other. They didn't care what kind of world-shattering destruction they might cause. This power, Siwoo, caught in the middle of their battle, could only stand aside in a daze, wondering, what the hell is going on? Eventually, the white-haired man was beaten back. Of course, the golden-haired man wasn't much better off having to dig his hands into the ground to stop himself from being blown further away. These were the kind of people who made even high-level spiders and monsters tremble in fear. Yet their power and performance hadn't diminished in the slightest. Overwhelming beings. The two of them clashed once again. Every strike, every exchange was so fast you couldn't even see an afterimage. Both sides knew each other's moves so well that every attack was met with a perfect counter. Poor Siwoo could only struggle to withstand the overwhelming pressure these two powerhouses were creating. These two, who are they? The white-haired man seemed to have gone mad, relentlessly charging forward. Then he seized an opportunity to land a kick straight into the golden-haired man's waist. The kick was so powerful it looked like an arrow of light shooting through the air, and it only stopped when it slammed into a wall thick enough to absorb its destructive force. The white-haired man, radiating killing intent, stalked forward and demanded, "Where are you hiding it? You're as persistent as a leech. I've had enough of this." No matter how intimidating his aura was, the golden-haired man didn't back down. "No, this is far from over." As he spoke, he began to focus his power, creating a sphere of light. Seeing this, the white-haired man laughed in anger, creating his own sphere of darkness. "Still want to be stubborn?" Then they both hurled their spheres at each other. The power of darkness and light clashed, causing horrifying destruction. Finally, the white-haired man frowned and warned, "Keep this up and you'll hurt yourself too." But the golden-haired man just laughed and said, "I don't care." As he said that, he glanced meaningfully towards Siwoo. Because I left a door open. He never expected to hear those words from someone as powerful as the golden-haired man. Sorry for dragging you into this. Only then did the white-haired man sense the true danger of the situation. Don't tell me you're planning to... As if to confirm his suspicions, the powers of light and darkness suddenly merged, creating a giant sphere. Once it reached a certain threshold, it simply exploded. The golden-haired man had obviously anticipated this, so he calmly let himself go with the blast. Only the white-haired man was dragged along to cushion his fall, forced to take the full impact. Immense power smashed through the thick stone walls. It destroyed everything that got in its way, clearing its path forward. Siwoo couldn't dodge in time. He could only stand there frozen, another obstacle in its path. Just as Siwoo was panicking, unsure of what to do, the blond man's gentle voice rang out again. I'm leaving this for you. A second later, a shield of light suddenly appeared, helping him block the destructive blow. After a moment, the smoke cleared, revealing a quiet cave once more. Siwoo stood in the dark space, panting uncontrollably from fear. His body began to sway, and a wave of confusion hit him. What the hell is going on? While losing his balance, Siwoo accidentally stepped on a phone. Startled, he turned his head to look. Driven by curiosity, he picked it up to examine it. Why is there a phone here? Through some unknown force, the phone suddenly sent a message, confirming new manager. The screen then changed to a new line of text checking connection path, which made no sense to Siwoo. What the hell? The system offered no explanation, simply displaying managerial succession complete, leaving him more confused than ever. What the hell is this? The phone seemed to contain an entire world of sages within it. Siwoo stared blankly for a moment. His gaze suddenly changed, becoming sharper than ever before. A notification appeared at the top of the phone's screen. GodTube, welcome to GodTube Manager. The strange new software put Siwoo on high alert. GodTube. Outside the cave entrance was bathed in warm sunlight. Doil and his friends were gasping for breath, having run for their lives to escape that hell. As exhausted as he was, the first thing out of his mouth was a string of curses. Fuck, what shitty luck. How the hell did we run into a high-level monster in a C+ dungeon? Doil's 3 shameless friends started chiming in with praise. We only made it out alive because of you. Using Siwoo as bait was the right call. That's our B-rank hunter Kang Doil for you, so experienced. Their words only fueled his arrogance, and he even seemed proud of his actions. Well, I didn't name our party Raid Everything for nothing. Of course, I had to be prepared for situations like this. Just as he finished speaking, Siwoo's roar came from behind him. Kang Doil, you son of a bitch! Doil was instantly shocked when he recognized the voice. Mang Siwoo. He was about to swing his fist the moment the guy turned around. How are you? But Doil reacted in time, deflecting Siwoo's arm with his elbow. He then spun around and punched Siwoo in the face, sneering with contempt. Did you forget you're just some F-rank trash? Doil's blow was so brutal that Siwoo spat out a mouthful of blood, but he remained nonchalant. I have no idea how you survived, but this works out. He was even shameless enough to try and keep exploiting him. Saves me the trouble of finding a new editor. But this time Siwoo didn't back down. He fought back. Are you serious? You think I'd work for a bastard who just tried to kill me? Doil shamelessly put a hand on his shoulder as a reminder. You're the one who got on your knees crying and begging for money to treat your sister's illness. I helped you out as generously as I could. Don't fuck with me. You should be grateful. Know your place. And then Siwoo slapped his hand away. He was learning how to fight back, how to threaten, even if it still seemed a bit weak. If you can't accept it, then don't let it go. From now on, that's my motto for a son of a bitch like you. I don't know if this will be useful. This video I recorded. Can you even imagine the fallout if I upload this? Doil acted as if he just heard a funny joke, remaining completely unfazed. You know damn well I can kill you right here, right now. Siwoo didn't show a hint of fear. With every word, his gaze grew sharper. Yeah, that's right, I'll die, but you'll go to prison and lose the career you've built. So wanna try me? Doil was cornered. All he could do was grit his teeth and threaten him. Mang Siwoo, if that video shows up anywhere, your little sister won't be safe either. After saying this, he didn't even bother to hear Siwoo's reply and turned to his teammates. We'll find a new editor. What are you all doing, pack up? Only when Doil was completely gone did he issue a cold warning. You even think about touching my sister, and you can't imagine what'll happen. Sometime later, Siwoo was alone, looking deeper into the phone he had received. GodTube, a god's channel. Perhaps out of curiosity, he couldn't resist tapping on an app. NewTube, a free website where anyone can upload videos. Among all the channels, the most popular is the Hunter channel, and with that came a risk everyone understood was enormous. However, there would always be extraordinary godlike people. Fighting a giant monster with my comrades. The holy sword I received from Hephaestus. I shall test it on Lucifer. Or like a snake-like beast being devoured by Odin's serpent. Jormungand in 12 minutes. Let's see how fast this veteran player takes down the boss. There were also many gods from mythology characters, from legends, heroes, and mythical beings. Seeing all these accounts, Siwoo couldn't help but wonder. They have channels on here. Remembering how the blonde man had entrusted him with everything, Siwoo desperately wanted to know. So who was he? Why did he give me this phone? Finally, completely fed up, he tossed his phone onto the table. None of this made any sense. And then a thought suddenly occurred to Siwoo. But what if it's real? What if they actually opened a channel on NewTube? Then he rolled his eyes and mumbled to himself. They'd have at least 1 million subscribers. In the end, unable to contain his curiosity, Siwoo started scrolling through his phone again. Let's see. It doesn't look too bad. Guess I'll give it a shot. While scrolling, Siwoo accidentally hit subscribe on Zhuge Liang's account. The description read, "Justice, loyalty, and determination. I will explain why I gave my family to the demons." The next second, a system notification popped up. To become a member, you must watch and learn from the S+ Sagacity Trait Lecture. His eyes suddenly widened in shock. The first time Siwoo launched it, he got a notification, "You have subscribed to Zhuge Liang's channel." It also displayed more information. Subscribe to channel 1 of 3, received S+ insight. The notification made Siwoo unable to believe his eyes. He just stared blankly for a few seconds. S+ only exists as a classification, not a real rank. That stat also reminded him of the people who fought against the Demon King, the 13 heroes. Everyone believed they possessed S+ rank traits. What was happening before his eyes made Siwoo wonder in disbelief, and I got it, just by pressing the subscribe button. He stared dumbfounded at one of his hands as if to confirm. No way. If it were real, I should be able to feel something, but nothing's changed. But Siwoo quickly understood. Is it because it only enhances my observation skills and intelligence? If so, it would be really hard to notice a difference right away. Just then, he received an unexpected notification from Hercules. To celebrate 10,000 subscribers, I will be holding a free personal training session on how to destroy Zeus's house. With the mentality of just trying it out, Siwoo directly clicked the subscribe button for the channel. Maybe subscribing to this one will feel different. The next second, a system notification suddenly popped up. You have subscribed to Hercules' channel, received SS superhuman strength. It was so unexpected that Siwoo in his shock punched and destroyed his own computer. SS rank. Seeing the computer crumble just like that, his whole body began to tremble. What did I really get, an SS rank trait? And the system conveniently popped up a notification. You have used superhuman strength. Proficiency has increased. Superhuman strength, proficiency 0.1%. To avoid causing any more accidents, Siwoo had to move from his desk to his bed to analyze the phone. My God, I got an SS rank trait just by pressing subscribe. Everything was happening in such a bizarre way that he was so confused he was grabbing his hair in frustration. I don't get it. I don't get it. What the hell is this God tube? Just by doing that, Siwoo gained more experience. S+ insight proficiency has increased slightly from thinking hard. S+ insight proficiency 0.1%. A second later, an idea flashed in his mind, helping him understand. Proficiency. I have to reach 100% to fully acquire the trait. Hercules' personal training. Thinking of this, Siwoo started to play the video Hercules had uploaded. The first scene that hit his eyes was the shocked and terrified faces of many Greek citizens. As they saw a heavy stone pillar suddenly being lifted, someone was constantly cheering, "That's it, that's it." Then came the sight of Hercules in a horse stance while carrying the pillar. "This is amazing!" But then a numbing electric current suddenly spread through his leg. This leg machine! With his willpower, Hercules easily shattered the ground beneath his feet. Then he effortlessly lifted the pillar in his hands with extreme excitement. Awesome! This scene shocked Siwoo out of his mind. What the hell is this? Goosebumps erupted all over him, and he couldn't help but cry out, "Oh my God!" Terrified, Siwoo hurriedly hit the unsubscribe button. How am I supposed to follow that? I get why he only has 1 subscriber now. I could never do that. Ooh. And then he received a notification that read, "Cannot unsubscribe." Hercules seemed to have noticed this and shouted, "Hey, skinny boy, you can check in anytime you like, but you can never leave." which terrified Siwoo to no end. And no matter how many times he pressed it, the system only displayed "cannot unsubscribe." Siwoo's face darkened, and he gritted his teeth as he realized, "I can't unsubscribe." Only then did the system finally pop up with a reminder, "Once subscribed, you cannot cancel." At the same time, it displayed more information, "Subscribe to channel 2 of 3. Seeing that he finally understood, Hercules left with satisfaction. "Well then, see you tomorrow." Right at that moment, Siwoo's real phone suddenly rang. "Who's calling me?" Knowing who the caller was made him feel even more annoyed. "Why is this guy calling me?" But he still had to answer the phone. "What do you want?" Hearing Siwoo answer, Doil started to taunt him again. "You actually picked up. I thought you blocked me." He was losing his patience and had to repeat the question, but the guy's attitude was still incredibly flippant when he replied. "I asked what you want. You don't have anywhere to go, right?" Since he wasn't getting to the point, Siwoo was getting confused. "Did you just call to mock me?" Only then did Doil start to reveal his purpose. "I just want to discuss some business." He didn't even care what it was about and just cursed business my. On the other end, the guy started laughing mockingly again. "Don't be so mean, we've always worked together." But Siwoo didn't care at all, even showing signs of wanting to hang up. "What do you want? Spit it out. I don't have much time." That tone directly provoked Doil. "You little..." It was a while before he got to the point and the reason for his call. "So SH Group wants to do a streaming collaboration. The news took him by surprise. SH Group. Considering how famous SH Group is, it is the #1 financial company in Korea. And naturally, it wasn't hard to find some leaked news. Recently, the group's granddaughter awakened 2 S-rank traits of a hunter. It wasn't too hard for Siwoo to figure out the root of the matter. I guess they want to get into the hunter industry. Doil's voice continued from the other end, sounding like he knew it all. "I'm guessing they want to expand their business, so they want to see what this industry is like." Finally, he emphasized with great excitement, "It's SH Group, man. What do you think?" But Siwoo's answer was hell no. Hearing this, Doil quickly threw out a fee. "For real, then I'll pay you 5,000 per video." This sent a shock through him. 5,000. Thinking his prey had taken the bait, he said smugly, "So you in now?" But Siwoo bluntly refused. Still no. This made Doil flustered. He quickly reminded him, "Hey, that's 10 times the usual. This is a win-win deal for both of us. So how much do you want?" This was the moment he was waiting for, and he stated his price, 50,000. When Doil heard this price, he slammed the table and yelled, 50,000, are you crazy? You really think you're worth that much?" But deep down, he was panicking. Could it be, does he know how much SH Group is paying me? Just then, the system popped up as if to make its presence known. Proficiency for Insight has increased slightly. Insight S plus proficiency 0.2%. Just as I thought. When Siwoo spoke, he began to expose Doil's petty scheme step by step. "Let me guess. Why would SH Group want to stream with you and not with S-rank hunters?" He gritted his teeth in anger. "Why don't you tell me?" He replied confidently. "It's obvious. Their granddaughter awakened 2 S-rank traits. The chairman of SH Group, Han Tae-san, isn't just going to sit back and watch. He wants his granddaughter to learn the basics first." Siwoo didn't forget to mention the image Doil had tried so hard to build. "And what's the most basic thing for a hunter? It's how to hunt monsters. The reason your channel..." He emphasized the results of his achievements got 21,000 subscribers. Just like when Doil proudly held that sign thanking 21,000 subscribers, it all had traces of Siwoo's work. "And can make money is all thanks to my unique analytical skills." Finally, he pointed to his own head as a reminder. "So the reason Chairman Han Tae-san chose you wasn't for you. It was for my knowledge." With everything ruthlessly exposed, Doil's face darkened. But 50,000 is still too much. This time it was Siwoo's turn to flip the script. He asked coldly, "You don't want it?" The question immediately hit a nerve, and there was nothing Doil could do. He threw his phone on the table, pretending to be furious. "If you can't borrow the money or whatever." But in reality, he was enjoying watching his prey walk right into the trap, then find someone else. The next day, Siwoo and Doil went to the meeting point inside a B-rank dungeon. Since there was still time, he took the opportunity to ask, "When are you going to transfer the rest of the money?" Hearing this, he tried to make an excuse while deliberately changing the subject. "I told you I'd transfer it after this raid is over. When is Han Sharon getting here?" Just as he finished speaking, they suddenly heard a sound from behind them. SH Group's Han Sharon had appeared out of nowhere, but she introduced herself politely as soon as she arrived. "I am Han Sharon, the one participating in this raid. Let's get started." Seeing her face for the first time, Siwoo froze for a moment. This girl is Han Charon. She's beautiful, and Charon's noble demeanor also helped him understand. But she seems hard to approach. So Siwoo quickly pushed the thought aside, focusing only on staying at the back of the line as support for the people in front. As long as I get paid, that's fine. I'll just do my job. Before long, the group encountered a giant monster. With her knowledge, Sharon didn't need anyone to tell her what it was. It's a black troll. Meanwhile, Doil, who had no real knowledge, just repeated the information he'd been fed. That's right. That monster is rated B+. Among B-rank monsters, it may be a B-rank monster, but with a recovery ability that's nearly immortal, those who don't know how to attack will die. He rambled on and on as if he were incredibly knowledgeable. The strategy everyone knows is to tear the black troll's body apart. As he spoke, Doil glanced at Sharon out of the corner of his eye. Attack the heart and cut off its head until it can no longer regenerate. The next second, she suddenly grabbed the sword sheathed at her waist. Then, to his astonishment, she charged forward to attack. Sharon's sharp and determined gaze was enough to show this was no impulsive act. Sensing the movement, the troll turned its head just in time to see her vaulting into the air. Then she plunged the heavy blade into its beating heart. Sharon continued to put more force into the hilt of her sword. In just a moment, she had taken the troll's head. While Siwoo and Doil were still confused, Chakran suddenly turned her head and said, "Easy." His expression immediately changed, and he rushed to flatter her, thinking about how easily she could destroy it after hearing the explanation as expected from an S-rank hunter. Sharon, looking annoyed, swung the sword in her hand and asked, "Are you trying to flatter me?" Siwoo could also feel a dark aura continuously radiating, but that sword. Out of curiosity, he pointed at it and asked, "That must be the Aurelian weapon I've heard about. How much is that sword?" She looked thoughtfully at the sword in her hand and replied about 20 billion. While Doil was startled in fear, 20. Siwoo was ecstatic, 20 billion. Sharon calmly pointed to the path ahead and urged, "But I can't get used to it with just one troll. Let's go deeper." An hour later, inside the damp cave of the black troll. The ground was now covered in a bright red liquid along with her rather satisfied voice. "I think I'm getting the hang of it." After searching around the cave for a while, Sharon calmly looked at them and suggested, "It seems there are no more trolls. Shall we end it here?" Doil quickly bowed and praised, "You did a great job." She looked down at her hand being held by him and said, "I'm leaving." But Doil just bowed his head to hide his face, which was contorted with rage as he gritted his teeth. "I thought this would be a good opportunity escorting an SH guild hunter, but I couldn't do anything, and I'm about to lose 50 million won to that bastard Maying Siwoo." Having worked with him for a while, Siwoo knew exactly what this man was thinking. That's definitely what he's thinking good for him. Just then, he suddenly realized something was wrong. Right after that, the entire cave suddenly shook with a strange tremor, startling Sharon. What was that? While Doil was extremely excited, "This is my chance," so he immediately made a subjective guess based on this size. "Isn't that a high-level monster?" However, only Siwoo understood clearly that things weren't that simple at all. No, this is not a high-level monster. The very next second, a giant boss troll suddenly jumped down from above right in front of them as if confirming the recent speculation. It's a boss. Facing those who dared to invade its territory, it let out a heaven-shaking roar, the heavy sound vibrating through the surrounding space. Almost at the same time, the boss troll's giant hand suddenly shot up, bringing with it a terrifying pressure that weighed down on them. With her sharp intuition, Sharon immediately sensed the imminent danger, so she quickly raised her sword just in time to block a heavy blow from it. Shielded by Sharon, Doil was still standing there, stunned, not yet understanding what had just happened. Only when he came to his senses did he and the others quickly turn and run. Damn it, run! The boss troll's eyes suddenly glinted with the fire of indignation and mockery. Right after that, it suddenly swung its arm violently, sending Sharon flying far from her original position. Not stopping there, the boss troll then picked up and relentlessly threw countless giant rocks at those fleeing for their lives. The heavy boulders hit their heads one after another. In the end, only Doil was lucky enough to not be seriously injured, desperately trying to escape this dangerous place. As he ran, he made a resolution to hell with the Shach Corporation and her. I have to survive first. Fear suddenly invaded his mind, spreading to every corner of his consciousness, constantly urging him on. I have to run! I am running! Damn it, I can't die! That thought repeated like a curse, forcing him to use every last bit of his remaining strength. I have to run as fast as I can from this place, but then Doil's face paled as he realized something was wrong. The boss troll took just one step to leap in front of him, simultaneously raising its arm to take the life of the human at its feet. Doil's whole body trembled uncontrollably. He knew he couldn't escape this blow. "I'm done for." Just as that giant fist came down, Sharon appeared in time, unhesitatingly risking her life to block the fatal blow for Doil. However, the power of that arm was too terrifying. The violent momentum immediately sent her flying far from her original position. Just like that, Sharon was sent flying hundreds of meters within the vast cave, her body colliding repeatedly with jagged rocks. It wasn't until her body slammed hard into a thick stone wall behind her that she finally came to a difficult stop. Before the rock dust could even settle, it appeared once again, its fierce gaze locked onto Sharon. But in that very moment, on the verge of death, her survival instinct suddenly flared up intensely. Sharon knew very well, "I have to dodge." So in the next second, she mustered all her remaining strength and quickly leaped onto the boss troll's giant arm. In just a moment, Sharon had successfully reached the monster's shoulder, her small body clinging tightly to it amidst the violent shaking. Right after that, she immediately swung her sword and slashed repeatedly, each relentless strike, raining down on that giant body without hesitation. However, that action was no different from exposing her own position. The sound of the impacts inadvertently revealed exactly where Sharon was standing. The boss troll's gaze quickly swept over, and the terrifying pressure that crashed down on her made her freeze for a few short seconds. Almost immediately, it raised its giant fist again, aggressively aiming straight for Sharon. Because the attack was so sudden, she had no time to dodge, taking the full force of a heavy punch. And Sharon's body was sent flying through the air by the terrifying force. Before she could even hit the ground, the troll boss continued its deadly assault, another punch following without giving her a moment to breathe. The giant fist slammed into the ground, the impact kicking up a thick cloud of dust. Fortunately, in that life-or-death moment, Sharon managed to raise her sword in time, trembling but steadfastly blocking its attack. In the distance, Siwoo's face began to turn pale as a desperate thought formed in his mind. "We can't beat it." Fear suddenly invaded his entire mind. Even if it was Sharon, even if she was an S-rank hunter, she was still just an inexperienced rookie. Siwoo could only watch helplessly as Sharon endured the continuous barrage of punches from the troll boss, and his heart was completely convinced we can't win. The monster's face slowly twisted into a frenzied and excited grimace, while in Siwoo's mind the only choice he had was, despite the close distance, he could only stand frozen in place watching her get pushed bit by bit into the abyss of despair. Abandon Sharon and run. The fear of death had now completely overwhelmed his conscience because, "If I don't, I'll die." Siwoo's whole body trembled violently as his mind wrestled with the choice or trust in GodTube's SS super strength, a power whose rank I don't even know. Just then, a figure suddenly dashed past him, accompanied by a panicked scream. Siwoo was startled to realize it was Doil. His face twisted in fear, desperately trying to find a way to escape. Siwoo's eyes widened, a bottomless hatred welling up inside them that he couldn't hide. In his heart, Siwoo unconsciously recalled Doil's vicious smile from before and thought to himself, this is all happening because of his stupid investigation. He still remembered every word the man said before abandoning him last time demaying Siwoo. Back then, he had been crawling on the ground, his face filled with despair as he stood on the brink of life and death. Back in the present, Sharon looked just as helpless as Siwoo had been then. This made him think blankly and pessimistically, we can't win. His mind relentlessly urged Siwoo to run away, and that word echoed endlessly in his head. Suddenly, he rushed forward with a single driving thought, or I'll die a shameful death. Then Siwoo turned his head and tried to shout as loud as he could to get its attention, "Over here!" while asking himself money and prestige. At that moment, his attitude was resolute, with a clear answer from the bottom of his soul, when you're dead, all of that is useless. The troll boss continued its frenzied attack while Siwoo was still lost in thought, however. He looked at Sharon, struggling to hold her ground, and said to himself, if I leave Sharon here and run... Suddenly, Siwoo let out a yell and threw a powerful punch with a brave thought, then I'm no different from that scumbag Kang Doil. Instantly, the enraged troll boss charged forward to retaliate, but now his mind was only preoccupied with one thing, the one who abandoned me and ran away. Unexpectedly, that small fist was strong enough to knock back the giant arm, astonishing the beast. Sharon's eyes widened in shock as a question formed in her mind. He blocked its punch. She stared intently at Siwoo standing in front of her and wondered who the hell is he. Next, he heroically stepped forward and the silhouette of Hercules appeared faintly beside him. In this moment, Siwoo lowered his head, seemingly sensing the change in his body. In an instant, his hands were filled with power, and the god behind him became even more formidable. The enraged troll boss looked at the two people standing opposite it and pulled its arm out of the cliff wall it was embedded in. It channeled all its fury into its fist, preparing to deliver a fatal blow. When the troll boss struck, it created a terrifying pressure, forcing Siwoo to brace his shoulder to block the blow. The fight looked like a hopeless struggle, but the beast's strength couldn't push him back. While the troll boss was grinding its teeth, he shouted out a signal, "Now!" Although he didn't say it directly, Sharon immediately turned her head and understood his meaning. She gripped her sword tightly and leaped into the air, charging straight for the monster. The beast broke into a sweat and looked up, but before it could react, Sharon stabbed it straight through the heart. Next, she kicked off the troll boss's body to gain momentum, then somersaulted a few times before landing on its shoulder. When the beast turned its head, Sharon was already at its neck in a ready stance. In a flash, she cleanly severed the troll boss's head with a single strike. Then the two of them watched their hearts pounding as its body stood frozen in place. Siwoo looked up impatiently. "Is it over yet?" Suddenly, a system notification appeared, Wisdom S+. This anomaly made him realize, no, something's not right. Seeing the troll boss still standing, Siwoo reasoned, some bosses have a second form, so a transformation is probably coming. Just then, its hideous head began to grow back. He shouted a warning, "Look out!" The troll boss's hand shot out and snatched Sharon right before Siwoo's eyes. He watched her scream and struggle in its grip, thinking frantically, no, if Han Sharon dies, it's all over, but there's nothing I can do. Siwoo kept thinking, if all the traits I got from GodTube are real, even if they're weak, if they really are my power. Suddenly, something drew the troll boss's attention. He was desperately trying to pry its fingers open. I can buy a little time, he thought. Seeing him, Sharon, despite her weakened body and shallow breaths, forced out the words, just run. But Siwoo ignored her, pulling with all his might as he yelled, aim for its heart. Gritting her teeth, she used all her strength to push herself free from the troll boss's grasp. Finally, Sharon managed to break free and fell to the ground. Wasting no time, she pushed herself up, her expression resolute. Got it. Once again, Sharon gripped her sword and charged at the beast. Meanwhile, Siwoo held on to the troll's hand for dear life, shouting, trust me, just go. The monster immediately sensed the threat and turned its head, noticing something was wrong. Then the troll boss let out a furious roar as if it had figured out their plan. Its eyes blazing, it glared at Siwoo, clinging to its arm, and tried to pull away. But Siwoo just grinned, a sly, taunting smile on his face. As he and the troll struggled, Sharon seized the opening and charged. She leaped onto its massive arm and sliced a long gash with her sword, making the beast howl in agony. Then her sharp gaze locked onto her true target. She leaped up and plunged the tip of her long sword deep into the troll boss's heart. Down below, Siwoo's vision was starting to fade. I can hold on for another 0.5 seconds, he thought. There's no time to explain how to fight a troll. But he forced himself to shout the crucial information, trolls have 2 hearts. A 2, Sharon asked, turning in shock. Internally, Siwoo thought, I have to believe she'll find it, with her instincts. Stabbed and in agony, the troll began to furiously swing its arm, trying to hit Sharon. Her face was a mask of determination as she searched. His own resolve hardened as he thought, no. Siwoo's mind was filled with a single powerful belief. She has to find it. Just then, Sharon locked onto her target and charged forward, sword raised. She gripped her weapon with both hands, face blazing with fighting spirit ready to strike. The tip of her sword plunged into the troll boss's right chest, causing it to roar and writhe in agony. Knowing the moment was right, Siwoo launched himself forward, his voice like steel, now. As he leaped, his entire body was enveloped in immense power as he roared, stop! Siwoo focused all his energy into his raised fist and yelled, and die! Just then, a system notification rang out. Your skill has been temporarily enhanced. Having just landed, Sharon looked up to see him deliver the final blow to the troll boss. The beast broke out in a cold sweat, its eyes wide with fear, clearly reflecting the powerful fist hurtling towards it. Siwoo's devastating punch went straight through the troll boss's head, his own eyes glowing with a blue light. The light was so blinding that Sharon had to shield her eyes. In her mind, she thought, we won. She called out to Siwoo, who was standing motionless and covered in blood. Hey! Suddenly, as if all his strength had vanished, he slumped forward. Then he collapsed unconscious at Sharon's feet, leaving her to wonder, just who is he? The scene changes to a well-furnished room. Siwoo's voice is heard, a hospital. Just then, a person dressed in black approached him and spoke softly. "Excuse me." Seeing the person sitting across from him, Siwoo called out in confusion, "Han Sharon!" He asked, startled and a bit shy, "What are you doing here?" She calmly pointed to the IV drip and answered, "Don't you see the machine I brought you to the hospital? You were seriously injured, all your muscles were torn, and your ribs were broken." Sharon leaned forward to ask, "So how are you feeling?" Siwoo shrank back, thinking shyly, "She's too close." But Sharon moved even closer, and all he could do was press his lips together in alarm. Suddenly, she raised her hand and touched Siwoo's forehead, making his face flush bright red. This intimate gesture left a giant question mark hanging in Siwoo's mind. Sharon brought her face close and said in a gentle voice, "It seems you have a slight fever." He was so surprised he let out a small gasp internally. Then she moved back to continue the conversation. "Come to think of it, we haven't properly introduced ourselves yet. What's your name?" Steam was practically coming out of Siwoo's ears as his face turned beet red from embarrassment, but he still tried to answer calmly, "I'm Mang Siwoo." He frowned, shyly wondering to himself, didn't she already know that she must have gotten my personal information when I was admitted to the hospital, right? Asterisk. As if reading his mind, Sharon said, "I had to confirm it for myself." This took Siwoo completely by surprise. He thought to himself in confusion, asterisk, what is she reading my mind or something? I heard her S-class trait is a sixth sense. It's not some kind of cheat ability, is it? Asterisk. Just then, Sharon's expression turned serious as she said, "You're probably tired from just waking up, but I'd like to make you an offer." Hearing this, Siwoo repeated blankly, "An offer," she confirmed, "that's right." A moment later, Sharon got straight to the point. "Do you want to join my team?" The news sent a shockwave through him. Siwoo was flustered and stammered, Your team, is it because I fought that troll? This is—" His hesitation made her pensive. Immediately, Sharon made an incredibly tempting offer. "What do you think about a salary of 1 billion won?" The number hit him like a lightning bolt, and he stammered with his jaw agape. "Oh, 1 billion won." She wasn't done yet. She added, "Furthermore, we'll negotiate your share of the profits from monster drops based on your contributions." Siwoo was trembling with excitement, thinking to himself, asterisk, "This is insane, a 1 billion won salary and monster drops, asterisk." Finally, Sharon played her trump card. "And I heard your sister has a blood disorder. She was brought to our hospital, wasn't she? We'll provide your sister with free care at the SH hospital." Her words hit him right where it hurt. Siwoo lowered his head, pressing his lips together as he carefully weighed his options before making a decision. A few minutes later, he looked up with a serious gaze and asked, "What would I have to do to be worth that price?" She replied gently, "Create strategies." Then Sharon stated her request bluntly, "To deal with every monster I plan to hunt." That night in the quiet hospital room, only the ticking of the clock could be heard. Siwoo was deep in thought, pondering the morning's events. "Shouldn't I have refused, asterisk?" He recalled his own answer in his mind. "I'd like to decline your offer." But Sharon's tone remained gentle. "I understand. Let me know if you change your mind. I still owe you my life, so I'll repay that debt by covering your sister's hospital bills." After carefully considering everything, Siwoo told himself, asterisk no. I have to believe in GodTube's abilities. The S+ foresight and SS rank super strength I got from there. GodTube exists. A channel of the gods that can turn S-rank hunters into side characters. I don't need to limit myself by accepting her offer. Besides, there's Shoa's terminal illness. At that thought, Siwoo turned to look at the bed next to his, a fierce determination in his heart. Asterisk, I have to find a cure for her at any cost. My sister Mang Seo-ah. Watching her sleep soundly, he recalled sadly, asterisk, she was caught in a dungeon break before and contracted a blood disorder. This blood disorder, there's no cure for it right now. We can only alleviate the symptoms. An image of the god's items unconsciously appeared in his mind along with a thought. Asterisk, but with GodTube, if I learn their traits, I can definitely cure Seoa's illness. Suddenly, a flicker of doubt crossed Siwoo's mind. Asterisk, however, the materials used in treatments are usually expensive, and this is a terminal illness. He sighed as he opened his shattered laptop and muttered, I'm going to need a lot of money. Now, shall we finish editing this 50 million won video? The previously recorded footage played on the cracked screen. Suddenly, Siwoo looked surprised. The laptop was showing the clip of Sharon looking at her sword and saying, around 2 billion. This made him rub his chin thoughtfully. Asterisk. What if I craft equipment and sell it asterisk? Asterisk, I could make billions of one in an instant asterisk. Siwoo immediately pictured himself gleefully forging weapons asterisk, but I only have one subscription ticket left. So Siwoo stared at his phone, grinding his teeth in frustration. Asterisk. If I want to subscribe to more, I have to register for a membership card, and it costs 1 million. There's only one answer. The only way to craft weapons is to learn alchemy. The screen showed a muscular man holding a hammer with the description plus 99 Mjolnir by Hephaestus. Stole Mjolnir from Thor, upgraded it to plus 99. After much hesitation, he decided to press the subscribe button for his channel. Suddenly, Siwoo's eyes widened and his jaw dropped as he read something in utter amazement. Just then, a notification popped up. You have subscribed to Hephaestus's channel. You have acquired the alchemy of the gods. This made him shout in excitement, an SS rank alchemy skill. The video showed the inside of a forge filled with barrels of materials accompanied by a voice counting 1, 2. Along with it, a metal hammer was striking the object below repeatedly. Hephaestus, looking fierce, tapped Thor's hammer with a smaller hammer and roared, "When you're enhancing a weapon, you can't be afraid of failure." His voice was full of angry curses. "You bastards these days have no guts, no courage. You have to be prepared for the weapon to be destroyed." Watching this, Siwoo's face darkened as he thought to himself, asterisk. Why do I have to be prepared for it to be destroyed? Why does every single god act like this asterisk? Just then, the system appeared again. You have corrected false knowledge about alchemy. SS rank Divine Alchemy Proficiency has increased slightly. SS rank Divine Alchemy Proficiency 0.1 plus 0.1. The scene changes to a beautiful morning at the hospital's park area. Someone's hand is gripping a pull-up bar tightly. It turns out to be Siwoo training, with one-handed pull-ups, his muscles bulging. Nearby, a female nurse cheerfully gossiped with the person next to her. Patient Mayang Siwoo's body has gotten more toned, right? But the other nurse replied blankly, really, I hadn't noticed. His ears strained to hear their comments about him as he wondered to himself, my body is toned. The nurse chattered on. The doctor said his recovery is unbelievably fast even for a hunter. The next sentence made Siwoo turn his head to pay attention. He might be discharged tomorrow. He was slightly surprised and thought to himself, discharged, that's faster than I thought. I need to train more before I get out. With that thought, Siwoo immediately started doing pull-ups relentlessly until he was drenched in sweat. The system also announced SS rank Super Strength Proficiency has increased slightly. SS rank Super Strength Proficiency has increased slightly. 1.01%, 0.01%. In his mind, he was silently calculating, if I use super strength frequently, my muscle fibers will be torn apart like last time. I can't neglect my training. Suddenly, a clear voice called out, excuse me. Siwoo turned to look and was surprised, thinking to himself, Seo ah. She leaned forward with a concerned look and said, I heard you're being discharged tomorrow. Siwoo scratched his head awkwardly and replied, looks like it. Seo ah clutched her chest, coughing dryly as she confessed her feelings. When you were brought to the hospital, I was so worried because you looked so badly injured. Her eyes turned sad as she hesitated before continuing. But you... Seo ah's face was gloomy as she murmured, didn't they say you'd need at least a month of treatment, but you're being discharged in just 1 week? Siwoo bit his lip, feeling an awkwardness rise inside him. This kid. She must be disappointed that I'm leaving before her. But then he closed his eyes and let out a small sigh, a fond smile on his face. Siwoo stepped closer, gently patting her head and advising, don't slack off on your treatment just because I'm not here. You don't have to worry about the money. Seo ah replied with a sad face. I know. I'm getting treated for free thanks to a request from Sharon. This familiar way of addressing her made his face freeze like a statue. He asked in a shaky voice, Sharon C? She answered cheerfully, that's what Sharon told me. She said she doesn't have any siblings, but that I look like her. The more he listened, the more confused Siwoo became, and he quickly questioned Seo, what asterisk that asterisk Han Sharon, when was this no before that? Have you ever even met Han Sharon? She replied with a bright smile, of course. She visits from time to time. He scratched his head in bewilderment. She visits, how come I've never seen her? Seo ah's clear voice explained sometimes she comes by while you're training, asks if you're doing okay, and then leaves. Siwoo curled his lip in disbelief and muttered, really. That made him thoughtful. Someone as busy as a hunter from Sheesh is visiting. Does she still want to recruit me? Meanwhile, she laughed mischievously and teased maybe, Sharon Uni is doing this because she likes you. Siwoo turned his face away, avoiding the topic out of insecurity. No, I don't think so. But Seo-ah said with a proud voice, no way you're really popular. The nurses are always talking about you. However, Siwoo just turned his back and deliberately ignored her. Forget it. Stop talking nonsense and go back inside. I have to go somewhere. She asked where to. Siwoo's face was full of confidence. His hand clenched in determination as he declared loudly to earn some money. After making his declaration, Siwoo immediately appeared in some kind of cave. Is it because this is my first time hunting monsters on my own? My hand kept opening and closing as if trying to calm the restlessness in my body. I'm a little nervous. Suddenly, his keen hearing caught a sound, and it was enough for Siwoo to understand. They're here. It turned out he was in a goblin cave, an F-rank dungeon where monsters' eyes were blazing with murderous intent. Driven by their savage instincts, each and every one of them frantically hurled rocks at their enemy. Naturally, the target of this barrage was Siwoo, who was forced to run for his life. In that moment, a mix of emotions filled my mind. Although I knew goblins move in groups, there are so many of them. Even more terrifying, the goblins behind them pulled out sharp, cold weapons from who knows where. Fortunately, Siwoo's agility allowed him to dodge a surprise attack from one of them. His fist clenched in response, and he swung it decisively. The immense strength that was unique to him easily sent the goblin that tried to ambush him into oblivion. Fresh blood splattered onto his face, causing Siwoo to flinch back in surprise. It exploded. Maybe I'm stronger than I thought. That one move from him was enough to make the once savage goblins hesitate. They even trembled with every firm step Siwoo took. A soft crack was heard from his neck as he turned his head, the decisive movement making a dry snap. With a confident smile that showed off his bright white teeth, Siwoo was bursting with excitement. Let's do this! Time passed, and in a certain shop warmed by the gentle sunlight. The goblins Siwoo had defeated were piled up like a mountain. How much can I get for all of this? The person across from him immediately shot back in a harsh tone. What are you doing? I told you to bring materials, not garbage. Seo Palguang, the head of the Seo blacksmithing family, let out a sigh. Now I'll teach you how to smelt ore. Follow me. He spent his youth learning metallurgy, and 20 years later, when he was 40, his passion for it was still burning bright. Watch closely. Forging isn't just about strength. Palguang was now a prodigy, an awakened being with A-rank dexterity, so every piece of advice he gave was full of essential knowledge. Just because you have good materials doesn't mean you can easily craft A-rank or S-rank gear. Siwoo's pupils widened, filled with amazement at the man's every move. After finishing his demonstration, Palguang handed the tools in his hands directly to him. I've shown you. Now it's your turn to try. Siwoo didn't hesitate. Yes, sir. Standing to the side with his arms crossed, he sank into deep thought as he observed the student before him. He said his name was Mayang Siwoo, right? He didn't ask me to forge equipment for him or to take him on as an apprentice. The uniqueness in his every action made Palguang think differently. He didn't even ask me to join his guild. In exchange for a fee, he's the first person to ever ask to just borrow my workshop. I allowed it because I was curious about his intentions. His eyebrows furrowed as he assessed him. Look at the way he's holding that hammer. And then Palguang couldn't help but close his eyes in exasperation and get lost in his own thoughts. Nowadays, people think blacksmithing is a simple skill like in a video game, but it took me over 20 years to get here. What's more, this kid is just glued to his phone. He probably watched a few videos on YouTube and thinks it's easy, but he's wrong. However, he was forced to snap his eyes wide open in disbelief when he suddenly sensed something. Time passed, and the brilliant light of the sun soon bathed the entire area. Kim Soon, a bag slung over her shoulder, suddenly burst through the door and didn't forget her greeting. Old man, I'm here. When she arrived, besides the constant clang of smithing, Palguang was already sitting there waiting for her. So it's you, Suyun? She flashed a bright smile. Of course, who else but this beautiful girl would come to this stuffy workshop? He replied in a flat tone. You could have sent someone else, you know. You didn't have to come yourself. Soyeon's response came with emphasis on every single word. Hey, I'm working with the best blacksmith in Korea, Seo Palguang, so I had to come myself. Palguang mused. Just as I'd expect from a merchant. You've even learned how to flatter now, huh? Her pearly white teeth were instantly revealed in a frank grin. Flatter, I'm Kim Soon, the representative of the Soyeon Company, the best item trading company there is. Soyeon then put down the item she was holding and got to the main topic. Anyway, here are the materials I mentioned last time. As for the price, Before she could finish, he cut her off. "It's wrapped in cloth over there. It's a sharp sword, so check it carefully." The incessant noise was clearly annoying Soyeon as she tried to start the transaction. "We've decided to provide—" In response, the cacophony continued, causing Soyeon's face to wrinkle as she continued, "Equipment for the entire sh—" Finally, unable to take it anymore, she exploded in frustration at Siwoo. "Excuse me, could you please be quiet for a moment? I'm trying to have a conversation," he replied indifferently. Yeah. Crossing her arms in disgust, Soyeon's gaze suddenly fell upon a pile of swords placed in a bin. That idiot. What is he even doing? Then she decisively picked one of them up and commented with a scornful tone, "What is this you call this a weapon?" Just then, Palguang suddenly spoke up. "What do you think, son?" As someone who frequently did business with him, she had a wealth of knowledge. "The blade is rough and its shape is cracked. Who could possibly use this?" Palguang didn't stop there and continued, "Is that so? But what if it was made from goblin and kobold bones?" His words caused no small amount of astonishment in Soyeon. What? Only then did Palguang officially reveal the even more surprising facts. What's more, those are the cheapest materials, and this was made by someone who just started as an apprentice today. A bead of sweat rolled down her cheek. "You took on a student." His expression changed as the words came out. "I did make him an offer, but," he thought to himself, "I just observed him forging. I remember how stunned I was, and to think this was his first time. Unbelievable. Alchemy." Siwoo's hammer movements were perfectly standard, and mixed in was his infused mana. His dedication and intense focus had officially created a miracle. Right now, Palguang's jaw was about to drop to the floor. Asterisk still, I've never seen anyone make a weapon from materials like these, and he still refuses my offer to become my disciple. Soyeon jumped in surprise. What? After hearing the whole story, her expression immediately turned serious as she turned her head. She saw Siwoo still so engrossed in his forging that he didn't even pause. She just watched thoughtfully for a long time without saying another word. And then, after so much effort, a black spearhead finally took shape under his hands. System notifications popped up continuously. Your S-rank alchemy proficiency has slightly increased. Your S-rank alchemy proficiency is now 0.7%, plus 0.4%. Siwoo's eyes went wide the moment he saw the blue screen. S-rank alchemy 0.7%, plus 0.4%. His lip twitched. Trash-tier equipment, huh? He didn't know how to react other than to mumble, I succeeded in making a weapon, but how could I possibly sell this? In response to his question, a voice came from Soyeon. Are you planning to sell that weapon? Having witnessed and judged his potential for herself, she didn't hesitate to extend her hand and introduce herself. My name is Kim Soon, a representative of the Soyeon Company. This caught Siwoo somewhat by surprise. Soyeon Company. I've heard of them before. A company focused on the hunter industry with trust and credibility as its core values. As a result, they're quite famous among hunters. With a confident smirk, Soyeon declared bluntly, We only deal with the best items in Korea, so if you want to sell it, I'm willing to buy. The mere thought of money made him greet her with a welcoming attitude. So, how much can you pay? She didn't give a specific answer first. May I take a look? Afterwards, she decisively named a suitable price. 1 million per piece. After that, having made a deal with Soyeon, Siwoo continued to strike steady hammer blows focused on his work. He began forging weapons like a madman and endlessly defeated monsters to gather materials. Her business with other clients also progressed at a dizzying pace. At Palguang's forge, someone's earth-shattering scream echoed through the air. It was clearly Soyeon who was jumping for joy. This is amazing! With excitement written all over her face, she smiled so wide her eyes curved into crescents. Our Soyeon Company has officially signed a contract with the SH Group. Siwoo nonchalantly dusted off his hands. I did pretty well right. At that moment, Soyeon's joy was indescribable. Not just pretty well from meeting the delivery quota to the perfect quality of the equipment. If it weren't for you, we would have been in big trouble, Mr. Siwoo. And then, unable to contain herself, she tightly grasped his hands. It's all thanks to you, Mr. Siwoo. If there's anything you want, just tell me I'll do everything I can to get it for you. Then, under his doubtful gaze, Soyeon took her phone out of her pocket. That's right. Go ahead and check your account. Although he was confused, Siwoo did as she said. What? All right. Just then, his balance reached the figure of 284,242,000. A sigh of slight disappointment escaped Siwoo. 10, 100, 2,800. I got it. He thought to himself, It's less than I thought. Hearing this, Soyun was extremely confused. What, 2,800? Check it again. Siwoo was surprised. What? And then when he finally looked closer, the real number hit him. 10, 100,000, 10,000, 100,000, million. The melancholy vanished, replaced by sheer astonishment from 23-year-old Mang Siwoo. 280 million. This was the moment he was reborn as a slave to money. After his balance reached 280 million, Siwoo was completely lost in thought. His eyes still couldn't leave the numbers on the screen. 10, 100,000, 10,000, 100,000, million! The joy disappeared, replaced by silent calculation. I can subscribe to a GodTube membership to save COA. Options from the system continuously popped up. Hua Tuo, a legendary doctor. The divine physician Hippocrates, an ancient legendary doctor called the father of medicine. Heo Jun, the greatest doctor who created Eastern medicine and is considered its root. Looking at the money in his account, Siwoo couldn't relax given the reality of the situation. It costs 300 million, one a month, to subscribe to all three of these channels. But in my current situation, I can only choose one of the three. He then shut his eyes tightly and plunged into a sea of thought. In the end, getting nowhere with his thoughts frustrated him so much that his whole body shook along with his bouncing leg. The very next second, Siwoo decisively covered his eyes and went to pick one at random. Whatever. He directly poured all the money he had painstakingly earned into one of the three channels of famous doctors. The sounds of weapon forging continued to echo in this place. Expressing his frustration, Palguang immediately started lecturing word for word after watching Siwoo. There's nothing you can do. Highly brittle materials are hard to polish. Just keep the gloss at the lowest level. Before Siwoo could even process the information, he continued. Even though it's highly brittle, precise procedures can still be done, but it's a process that requires absolute precision. Right at that moment, Soyun burst through the door and didn't forget to announce, "I'm here." This successfully made Palguang, who was already in a bad mood, feel even worse. "Soyun, why do you keep coming here?" she replied with an emphatic tone. "I came to see Mr. Mang Siwoo. What about it?" Just as his name was mentioned, his voice rang out. "Oh, you're here, Miss Soyun. I was waiting for you." Her face immediately turned red. "What, waiting for me?" Then Siwoo took out a piece of paper he had prepared beforehand. He said she could get him what he needed and asked, "Is it possible to get these things?" Realizing her own misunderstanding, she took the item from his hand with a hint of disappointment. "All right, of course." Naturally, she couldn't skip opening it to check. Mountain incense, glowing stone tiger's ear plant, 100-year-old ginseng, 100-year-old edelweiss, and gleditsia medicine. Seeing the other's expression stiffen, Siwoo quickly probed, "Are they hard to find?" A hesitant look appeared in Soyun's eyes. "I can get them, but it'll be expensive." He was decisive. "How much?" At this point, she was just as frank. "They're about 300 million won, but I can give you a 20 million won discount." That staggering number hit Siwoo like a bolt of lightning, making him want to scream, and so he couldn't help but fall into deep thought. "I need these to increase my divine medical arts proficiency through the membership." Through the membership, I registered for Hua Tuo's Divine Medical Arts S+. It's very difficult to master it on my own because I don't know where to find those medicinal herbs or who sells them. Without Miss Soyun, I'd have no idea how to get them. Seeing Siwoo's expression, Soyun felt she had to ask again to confirm, should I get them? Though tears streamed down his face like Niagara Falls, he had no choice but to accept the current situation and reply, yes. After that, he fell into a difficult situation, constantly running his hands through his hair in frustration. "I'm receiving 280 million from Soyun, but I also have to pay her 280 million won, and I'll lose 4 million won at the end of the month. The membership fee is 100 million won. Considering the registration fee I have to pay at the end of the month, I need to make money right now." At that moment, Siwoo let out a heavy sigh under the pressure weighing on his shoulders. "But even if I make extra money from smithing weapons, how am I supposed to make 100 million won?" Suddenly, an idea flashed in his mind and his pupils immediately constricted. Siwoo instantly remembered the time he watched Dakeol's video. A bright, toothy grin spread across his face as he recalled the words, "Ladies and gentlemen, new tube." The subway train was packed with people just like any other day. A bored-looking young man with brown hair was endlessly scrolling on his phone. "There's nothing... seriously." All of a sudden, his sharp eyes caught a clip of Siwoo with the title, "The Man Who Conquered the World Will Show You the Hippopotamus Strategy." What's with this guy? Out of curiosity and partly to kill time, the brown-haired young man decisively tapped on the video. The sight of a herd of hippos with mottled skin immediately filled the screen. Siwoo, wearing a costume, appeared along with them. He was even wearing a complete costume, right down to the shoes with claws taped on. Taking the hippopotamus strategy to a whole new level, Siwoo threw away all his shame and let out an animalistic roar. The very next second, he showed off his sharp jawline and spoke in his own masculine voice. "Did you know that a hippopotamus isn't actually a horse?" This was enough to leave the brown-haired young man speechless. What is this guy doing cosplaying as a hippo? But he was so captivated that he patiently continued to listen to Siwoo's explanation. The monsters you're seeing now are called sea horses in Korea. In other countries, they're called river horses. His steady voice rose and fell rhythmically with each word. As you can see, they have the appearance of a hippopotamus. For hippopotamus, the character for horse, or ma, is used. He strode forward as the words left his lips, but hippos aren't part of the horse family. This managed to pique the brown-haired young man's interest and doubt. The character for horse is used for hippos. Not keeping him waiting long, Siwoo waved his hand decisively and declared actually they belong to the cattle family. Drawing upon his own abundant knowledge, he quickly enunciated each word. To be more precise, they belong to the order Artiodactyla. Going any deeper will just give you a headache, so I'll stop here. And just when it seemed like the video was about to end, who would have thought that Siwoo would pull out a red cloth? Anyway, he then got into a stance no different from a bullfighter's and announced, "Let me show you how to conquer a hippopotamus." First, that confident smirk, unique only to Siwoo, spread across his face. Pique their interest with a red cloth. At that moment, cold sweat poured down the astonished face of the brown-haired young man at Siwoo's next words. Bulls aren't agitated by the color red, it's used to pique their interest. After that, Siwoo brandished the item in his hand toward the herd of hippos. "Come here!" Hearing the provocative sound, a series of large, round eyes immediately swiveled over. The very next second, their pupils flashed with a red light, just like a pair of headlights. And then, without another word from Siwoo, the entire group of hippos began charging toward him. What was surprising was that Siwoo didn't even flinch or panic at the sight of this dense horde. He even looked confident, as if he had it all in the palm of his hand. The way to conquer a hippopotamus, second, just beat them and catch them. This was enough to make the brown-haired young man's jaw drop in amazement. This is his strategy! In the clip, Siwoo had thrown the red cloth aside and was just charging straight into the frenzied herd of hippos. Not a single trace of fear could be seen on his face. The hippos didn't back down for a second, even opening their mouths wide enough to fit an entire watermelon. And then the inevitable happened. The collision between the two sides officially caused a shocking explosion. A moment later, the entire area was suddenly filled with nothing but fragmented sounds. What was truly admirable was that Siwoo's body was still standing firm after that earth-shattering collision. In just a few minutes, or maybe not even a few seconds, he successfully defeated all the hippos that dared to charge. What do you all think, easy, right? Right now, the word shocked isn't even enough to describe the look on the brown-haired teenager's face. Back to the previous scene when the hippos were still full of energy and roaring, Siwoo relentlessly threw his fists while shouting a bewildering slogan, "Hot and sour noodle hot pot." Without pausing for even a second, he didn't wait before sending the next one flying, "Soba noodle hot pot." No fancy moves, just his fists were enough for Siwoo to take them down one after another. "Soba noodle hot pot." The brown-haired young man who witnessed the whole thing could only stare with a look of utter disbelief. After taking down all the hippos, Siwoo was still full of energy and didn't forget to remind everyone, if you found this strategy useful, please like and subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications too. User Uchiha Chutachi could only leave a few words in the comments, "This bastard is insane." Even the people watching at my brother's apartment who don't know the language are laughing their heads off. "Damn it, beating them with his bare hands, hilarious." User Fainting Kids also chimed in, "Our hippos have all fainted." A viewer happy to live up to their name, The Barker, commented, "Woof, woof, 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 woof." And user What the Heck is this could only laugh and laugh. But most notably, Siwoo's views had reached 3,628 and subscribers for The Boy Who Conquered the World channel had reached 243. The phone in Siwoo's hand was now constantly buzzing with notifications, "You have a new subscriber." With a smile so wide it would scare anyone who saw it, he was filled with excitement at the good news. Just as planned. Online, Siwoo's video was quietly spreading at an incredible speed. The view count skyrocketed every hour like a relentlessly rising tide. In the quiet atmosphere, he slowly scrolled down to the comments section with each line appearing one after another before his eyes. After reading the corners of Siwoo's mouth involuntarily turned up into a bright smile. Looks like they like this kind of content. Then he rested his chin on his hand, his indescribable gaze fixed on the phone screen as his thoughts deepened. This time, the public reaction was good because of the power of media. I can't just keep fighting low-level monsters forever. As soon as that idea formed, his resolve quickly became clear. Good. I have to take advantage of this while it's trending. Therefore, in the following days, Siwoo constantly threw himself into hunting monsters with the intensity increasing each time. Because demand was high, he needed to increase the level of stimulation to maintain the viewer's interest. Between those trips, he also spent most of his time at the weapon forge, the place most familiar to him. And that's my specialty. Siwoo worked so diligently that he lost track of time, the outside world seemingly pushed to the back of his mind. After all, analyzing monsters and coming up with strategies is my job. Every time he opened his video channel and saw the constantly rising numbers, an indescribable sense of anticipation welled up inside him. Getting 1 million subscribers isn't a dream anymore, just as the future seemed to be opening up before his eyes. But there was a problem. A warm drop suddenly fell onto the back of his hand. Looking at his hand, Siwoo was completely stunned for a moment. A nosebleed. Before he could understand the cause, a dull wave of dizziness quickly spread gradually, pulling his consciousness into a hazy state. In his daze, he braced himself against the wall, with one hand still managing to whisper, "I have to edit the video." Siwoo's voice was now so weak it was almost inaudible, just a disjointed mumble. "Dungeon raid, and send over." Immediately after, his body could no longer hold up. His legs staggered, and losing his balance, he fell backward. Unfortunately, as he fell, he hit his head hard on the edge of a table. A sharp pain shot through him, making his consciousness even more fragmented. It didn't stop there. The next second, Siwoo's body collided with a nearby chair. After a series of consecutive impacts, he finally lost all strength, collapsed to the floor, and fell unconscious with only one hazy thought remaining in his mind. "I've worked too much." An unknown amount of time passed, seeming to stretch on endlessly until his consciousness slowly returned. In a state of half-consciousness, Siwoo vaguely looked up at the ceiling above and whimpered softly, "Where am I? My ceiling." He struggled to sit up in bed, muttering while holding his head, "Did I just pass out?" Thanks to Hercules' super strength, it was only fainting. Immediately after ignoring his exhausted body, Siwoo hurriedly reached for his phone. Only one thought remained in his head. "I have to edit the video quickly. How long was I out for?" When he saw the time displayed on the screen, Siwoo was instantly stunned. In that moment, it felt as if his world was collapsing. He cried out in alarm, "I was out for a whole day." Disappointment quickly washed over Siwoo. He hung his head in frustration, endlessly blaming himself. "At this rate, I'm going to die from overworking before I even make any money." After this incident, Siwoo finally made a firm decision in his heart. "I have to hire an editor." The next day, he went to a coffee shop as scheduled to meet with an editor. As soon as he sat down, Siwoo took out his phone, his eyes slowly scanning the screen in thoughtful consideration. The screen was filled with a series of applications. Inbox applying for editor position. Applying for editor position. Boy who conquered the world. Editor application document. Are you still hiring an editor? I really want to be the editor for Boy Who Conquered the World. After scrolling through them all, he couldn't help but exclaim in amazement, "I didn't think there would be this many applicants. Is it because of the high salary there are as many applicants as there are for an idle audition?" Siwoo let out a breath, concluding with a hint of smugness. "A base salary of 3 million won plus bonuses based on views. Just as I expected, money is the best motivator." With that thought, he quickly got down to business with only one clear goal in mind. "So I have to pick someone who can help me make more money." After watching the application videos one by one, Siwoo began his serious evaluation. The sound effects in this video are more fitting and humorous. Their editing skills are also better than mine. However, just then he glanced at his watch, an irritable feeling welling up inside him. With a dark expression, Siwoo muttered in annoyance, "Why isn't he here yet?" Scowling at his phone, he irritably reminded himself, "He said he's parked Daeogu." On the screen, the messages were still from yesterday. "Can we meet tomorrow at 1 o'clock at the cafe?" "Yes, I understand." The longer he waited, the more unpleasant images popped into Siwoo's head. The meeting was at 1 o'clock. Sorry for being late, I'm Park Dyogu. It's not just his name, but the way he talks, too. He must be some old guy. At that thought, he tried to convince himself, well, that's even better. He's probably very experienced. Unwilling to wait any longer, Siwoo sent a direct message, "Where are you?" But below his message, there was complete silence, no reply at all. He glared at the screen and complained, "He's not reading my message. Is he even on his way?" Reluctantly, Siwoo could only force himself to wait patiently. Just a little longer. Time passed slowly. The atmosphere in the cafe was calm, but the seat opposite him remained empty. Finally, unable to bear it any longer, Siwoo shot up, slammed his hand on the table, and cursed in anger, "Damn it, you bastard!" Just then, the cafe door suddenly opened and a voice filled with guilt rang out. "Sorry I'm late, I'm here for the interview." Hearing that voice, Siwoo immediately turned his angry gaze fixed on the person who had just entered. He saw a beautiful girl asking nervously, "Are you Mang Siwoo?" That young woman was the N-Tube editor applicant, Park Dyogu. Dyogu's appearance completely stunned him. What right, Park Dyogu? Siwoo's mind was in utter chaos. What the hell, I thought he was an old guy. Opposite him, she apologized again guiltily. "I'm sorry." Seeing this, he couldn't bring himself to scold her anymore and just asked, "Why were you so late you didn't even read my message?" Dyogu honestly explained, "I was editing a video until late at night, so I forgot to make my little brother's lunchbox. I couldn't read your message because I was rushing to get here. I'm sorry." Hearing this, Siwoo asked in astonishment, "What editing a video?" She glanced up at him and explained in a small voice, "It's the video attached to my application." He was extremely surprised and couldn't help but ask, "You mean you edited it in just one day?" Unexpectedly, she denied it. "No, it only took 3 hours." Hearing that, he immediately blurted out in shock, "3 hours?" Seeing his unusual reaction, Dyogu couldn't help but worry, what's wrong with him? Just then, Siwoo suddenly regained his composure and called out seriously, "Miss Park Dyogu." His suddenly serious tone made her reply nervously, "Yes." He suddenly broke into a welcoming smile and asked directly, "When can you start working?" Dyogu was stunned for a moment and stammered reflexively, "What right now?" Meanwhile, Siwoo was overjoyed internally. "It usually takes me 8 hours to edit one video, but she only takes 3. If it only takes 3 hours per video, how much money can I make?" Outwardly, he maintained a professional demeanor and slowly explained the job requirements. "As it says in the ad, at least 2 videos per week. Sometimes I upload 3, but of course I'll pay you extra for overtime." With that, he proactively extended his hand and said in a friendly tone, "I look forward to working with you." A bright, enthusiastic smile spread across Siwoo's face as he called out cheerfully, "Miss Editor." Seeing this, Dyogu seemed to wind up and bowed so deeply her head repeatedly hit the table, expressing her determination. I'll work really hard." Just then, the atmosphere outside the cafe suddenly became chaotic. The sound of hurried footsteps echoed mixed with whispers. "What the hell is going on? It's a dungeon break!" The uneasy chatter quickly reached Siwoo's ears, causing him to whisper in terror, "A dungeon break." As people moved chaotically, the loudspeaker on the ceiling crackled with a cold but urgent announcement. "A dungeon break has occurred in the district. Confirming results, it has been identified as a C-rank dungeon. Nearby residents, please evacuate immediately." Seeing him standing motionless amidst the chaotic crowd, Dyogu urged him fearfully, "Boss, we should evacuate too." But in complete contrast to the surrounding situation, his voice replied with unconcealed excitement, "Editor Park Dyogu, you said you could start working right away, didn't you?" Hearing that, she froze, unable to keep up with Siwoo's train of thought for a moment. "What?" He turned his head. The smile on his face was abnormally radiant, his eyes shining as if he had just found a gold mine. Right after that, Siwoo calmly instructed, "Take this and follow me." Dyogu took the phone and asked in confusion, "What's this, boss? Where are we going?" He clenched his fists, his voice unable to hide his boiling excitement. "Where do you think we're going to make some money?" After hearing that answer, she felt like she'd been struck by lightning, fear immediately rising to her throat. "What?" But Siwoo no longer paid any mind to her reaction. He ran while giving instructions. Film. Dyogu dazedly obeyed. Yes. Even though her heart was pounding and her legs felt like jelly, she stood still and filmed as instructed. As giant green figures began to step out from the dungeon entrance one by one, a terrifying pressure weighed down on the air. Dyogu could only scream in panic, "Run!" However, on the other side, a green-skinned monster had spotted Siwoo. It roared and charged straight at him. Facing that threat, Siwoo didn't back down at all. On the contrary, he sped up and ran towards it. In the next moment, Siwoo's punch flew out clean and ruthless. Before the monster could even react, it was sent flying. Amidst that chaotic and dangerous scene, he even had the energy to turn to the camera flash his familiar smile and promote his channel. Everyone please like and subscribe and turn on notifications too. Wiping the dirt from his face, a rush of excitement surged in his chest. Siwoo cheered inwardly. "Time to make some money, huh?" The guard team quickly appeared from the streets, running while stretching their arms to block the civilians. The atmosphere instantly became chaotic. "It's dangerous, everyone. Evacuate into the buildings. If you guys just stand outside." "No." Just then, an orc's severed head flew through the air and landed with a thud right where they were standing. The sight before them left the guards collectively stunned, their minds going blank for a second. What the? In the distance, Siwoo could be seen charging into a horde of orcs alone. His movements were rough but decisive, as if he were giving those monsters a merciless thrashing. In just a moment, the monsters collapsed, their corpses piling up at his feet. Siwoo was covered in foul-smelling slime, but he calmly turned to the camera and flashed a confident smile. If you guys enjoyed this, please like and subscribe, and don't forget to turn on notifications. Elsewhere, Daioku was staring blankly at the screen. "What the hell is this?" Most of the comments under the video were praise. User Gabo Reform was ecstatic. "Look at the security guards just standing there frozen. But are orcs really just C-rank monsters? Did he really smash their heads with his bare hands?" User Gyumja's relative chimed in admiringly. "The guy conquering the world is just doing cool things. What's the problem? But this video was just edited." She read them over and over, her suspicion growing. Why? Why is he so popular?" The skyrocketing view count made her even more confused. "I mean, I'm the one who edited the video, but I don't get it." Daioku just wanted to find a hole to crawl into. "But there's one thing I'm sure of, though I don't understand it. My boss is a total lunatic on YouTube." She buried her face in her hands, helpless, and wondered, am I going to end up like that too? Just then, a childish but excited voice called from the door, "Sis, the fried chicken is so good." It was Daioku's twin siblings. They beamed brightly. "We saved some pieces for you, let's eat together." The next second, the two started bickering. "I want to eat that one. You already had one. This is for our sister." Seeing them, she couldn't help but break into a happy smile. "That's right, I have to work hard, at least for my siblings." In another place, Siwoo was quietly forging a weapon by himself. The rhythmic clang of metal on metal echoed in the quiet air. He slowly raised the newly completed sword before his eyes, a corner of his mouth lifting in satisfaction. Equipment made from the orcs from the dungeon outbreak. Unlike before, it was made from C-rank monster materials. So I can have high expectations, right? Immediately, a series of system windows appeared before his eyes. Proficiency in Divine Blacksmithing SS has increased slightly. Proficiency in Divine Blacksmithing SS, 4.43%, plus 1.4%. You have created some equipment worth giving away for free. Siwoo stood still, staring at his phone screen, his gaze faltering slightly. Equipment worth giving away for free. A hard-to-hide sense of satisfaction welled up inside him. But the proficiency still went up by 1.4%. Judging by how much it increased, that's an impressive number. Just then, Xun appeared with a look of great interest, her eyes darting toward the sword. "The quality of your equipment has gotten better." Palguang, standing beside her, was so shocked his jaw almost dropped. He stammered in disbelief. How could a beginner who's been at this for less than a month create something like this?" Hearing this, Siwoo let out a laugh, his tone carrying a hint of poorly concealed pride. "I still have a lot to learn." She immediately seized the opportunity, a calculating glint in her eyes. "Siwoo, you want to sell this too, right?" Without a second's hesitation, Siwoo handed the sword over to her. "Of course. You know how to sell it for the best price, don't you?" Soen gave him a trustworthy smile. "Just leave it to me." The corners of her lips curved up even more as her eyes swept over Siwoo. "By the way, you've been looking better lately." The compliment made him a little flustered. He just gave a brief reply, "Oh, really?" Then Soyun honestly described how Siwoo used to look. "Before you were always so tired, I thought you were a zombie. But now you look more human." Her words made him involuntarily pinch his own cheek. "Ever since Daioku started editing my videos, I've had more time to sleep, even though I'm still busy." At this thought, Siwoo slapped his forehead in anguish. Although after paying a huge sum last time, I realized I only have a little bit of living money left. But filming isn't an editor's job. I should pay her more. This reminded him of his old grudge, and he couldn't help but clench his fist. That piece of trash, Kang Dochel. Despite his annoyance, Siwoo had praise for Deogu. I have no complaints about her editing skills. She's so diligent, I'm really glad. He then returned to the main topic. Oh, right, Soon, what about the medicinal herbs I mentioned last time? It was only then that she remembered. My bad. Zoan took out a bag with a super confident expression. Of course I've gathered them all. It was your first request, Siwoo. Her expression left Siwoo stunned. You got them all. That's amazing. Soyeon was still bursting with pride. Of course. She made a V sign with her hand. Soyeon only deals with the best items in Korea you know. Inside, he sighed in annoyance. Why does she keep saying that? Siwoo reached for the bag. How much is it? She did a quick calculation. Let's see. The total is 21.44 million won. Hearing the number, he almost fainted on the spot. 212.44 million won! That's a huge amount! She acted very generously. But since this is your first request, Siwoo, I'll give you a discount next time. I'll drop the change and sell it for 200 million won. It was still an astronomical figure, making Siwoo grit his teeth. Thank you very much. Soyeon's expression was clearly curious. But what are you planning to do with so many medicinal herbs? He forced a smile and came up with a random excuse. To study medicine, maybe? A moment later, Siwoo was watching a video on his phone. Medicinal herbs are considered the elixirs of heaven and earth derived from animals, plants, or minerals. The brilliant physician Hua Tuo continued his lecture. They are mainly divided into decoctions, powders, pills, and creams. Those are the most common forms. Then he spouted a long string of what sounded like an alien language. His face scrunched up in an ugly grimace. What is he saying? At this rate, I'll never be able to increase my proficiency in divine medicine. A second later, 2 system notifications appeared. You have acquired advanced knowledge. Inside S+ proficiency has increased slightly. Siwoo grumbled to himself, that's the wrong proficiency. Suddenly, another notification popped up. Inside S+ proficiency 8.7% plus 1.4%. He seemed to realize something. It's related to learning how to use medicinal herbs for healing, researching and combining studies of their functions. His thought was correct. A pleasant system chime rang out. You have understood the definition of herbal medicine. Siwoo was taken aback, a flicker of hope in his heart. I was right. This was followed by a series of other notifications. Divine Medicine S+. Proficiency has increased slightly. Divine Medicine S+ proficiency 0.4%, plus 0.4%. But no matter how hard I try, I can't understand the whole video. I mean, why does he have to make it so complicated? So Siwoo decided to try some practical application. You have decocted a good prescription for yourself. He continued to work diligently in the kitchen, and at the same time, his skill stats began to rise. Divine Medicine S+. Proficiency has increased slightly. Divine Medicine S+, proficiency 0.9%, plus 0.5%. As a result, Siwoo concocted something that looked like a witch's poison. Is this even drinkable? The system says it's good for my health. Doesn't that also mean it could be harmful? So he risked it, tilting his head back and downing it in one go. Only one way to find out. It's just a divine medicine potion. It can't kill me, right? The next second, Siwoo was sprawled out in a pool of his own filth. He was so shocked he was trembling like he had malaria. His money, the price of those medicinal herbs. Just then, Siwoo's phone made a pleasant sound. It turned out his recent actions had earned him a new achievement. You have successfully absorbed a health-boosting decoction. Proficiency of Super Strength SS has slightly increased. Siwoo just wanted to cry his eyes out. An increase in Super Strength proficiency. He looked at the puddle of mush on the ground, feeling an immense sense of waste. There's probably still some effect left, right? Should I just lick up the rest? A while later, Siwoo was in a dark cave. He ignored the creatures hanging from the ceiling and focused on his task. Vampire bats are E+ rank monsters of the bat family. There's a reason I came here. Then, Siwoo began preparing his equipment while mentally outlining his plan. First, film a video about whether bats are actually mice. Second, collect vampire bat corpses to craft equipment. And finally, research the diseases from vampire bats. He looked up at the swarm of bats calmly. Since they live in groups ranging from a few to hundreds of individuals, all sorts of diseases originate from them. Siwoo started adjusting his camera. However, even the bats themselves aren't immune to diseases. If they carry pathogens, it's likely related to blood diseases. In that case, I need to figure out how they resist them. That could lead to a clue for curing Sioa's blood disease. Though he had his doubts, he didn't want to give up. This won't be easy, but with my divine medicine technique, it should be possible. I sense something. Siwoo's sixth sense immediately warned him of danger. It wasn't coming from the bats. It was coming from somewhere else. So without hesitation, he hid behind a nearby rock ledge. Better to hide for now. A second later, a group of armed men walked in. Those guys? Aren't they Kang Dachiel's underlings? How did they even get in here? Siwoo's eyes were glued to them. As long as I was assigned to this dungeon by the Hunter Management Bureau, other hunters aren't allowed inside. Of course, cases like this sometimes happen. Did I just run into Kang Dachiel's lackeys by chance? He couldn't help but be suspicious. Those guys are probably C-rank hunters. What are they doing in an E-plus rank dungeon? Whatever it is, it seems like they followed me. Dungeons are isolated spaces with no network connection. At that thought, a chill ran down Siwoo's spine. That means no one would know if someone got offed in here. What should I do? But then he snapped himself out of it. Why am I even thinking about that? An arrogant look reappeared on Siwoo's face. I'll figure it out after I've beaten them to a pulp. Down below, the group was moving deeper into the cave. Are you sure that bastard Mang Siwoo came in here? Kang Dachiel's underling C-rank hunter Du Yuna was resolute, I'm sure. I saw him enter with my own eyes. C-rank hunter Ji Mincheol said as he scanned the area. I saw him too. The leader C-rank hunter Kim Jiwoo suddenly snapped. But why can't I see him anywhere? Mincheol casually threw out a cold remark. Maybe he's already dead. Hearing that, he smirked arrogantly. All right, that bastard is an awakener with no attribute weaker than even an F rank. Where did he get the confidence to enter this dungeon alone, though that works out well for us? He shrugged and snickered. I don't know either, but he's smart. He must have a plan to deal with the vampire bats. Jiwoo's steps grew more confident. What can a no attribute even do? Just then, Yuna spoke up. After watching his video, it doesn't seem like he relies much on his own tactics. Mincheol scoffed contemptuously. Hey, you actually believe that? He continued his mockery. Anyone can fool people by editing a video. How hilarious. Mincheol's smile grew even more smug. This place is more like a tomb than a dungeon, isn't it? Jiwoo, walking ahead, chimed in, maybe so. Suddenly, an unfamiliar voice cut in. So, startled, they immediately looked around frantically. Siwoo appeared behind him like a ghost. Where is Kang Dachiel? This unexpected variable made Jiwoo's face darken. I couldn't sense him. Siwoo's lips held a calm smile. I didn't think you guys would talk so much trash about me. But his words were meant to scare them, and I hope you don't answer. Mincheol still hadn't recovered from the shock. Where did he come from? Yuna, however, roared in fury. Are you trying to fight us? After leaping back, Jiwoo charged forward again. What is this fool doing? However, before his sword could even strike, it was sent flying. With just a light push from Siwoo, Jiwoo was plastered to the nearby wall like a cockroach. Then he walked over to the man, trembling in pain. You ask what I'm going to do. A second later, Siwoo stomped on his head. This. Siwoo landed another kick on Jiwoo's face. One down. The sight terrified Yuna, but he still talked tough. Damn it, Mincheol also roared in anger. Mang Siwoo, you son of a bitch. But before he could do anything, he was knocked into a wall. Horror slowly dawned on Yuna's face. Holy shit. Cornered, he hastily threw his weapon to the ground. Wait, I'll talk. But Siwoo continued to walk slowly towards him, scaring Yuna so much he almost wet his pants. I'll tell you everything. Facing the man's terrified expression, he just growled out each word. Right now, I don't... His expression grew more and more vicious. Feel like trusting guys whose limbs are all still attached. Afterward, he crouched in front of Yuna to interrogate him. So Kang Dachiel told you to teach me a lesson I'll never forget. Kneeling on the ground, the man didn't dare to look up. Yes. Siwoo's voice dropped, asking coldly, and to embarrass me. Yuna had already been beaten to a pulp. He didn't dare to lie anymore. No. Yes, that's right. At this, he couldn't help but demand, but why would he do that? Why is Kang Dachiel interested in me? Yuna's voice trembled more and more. I don't know. Seeing Siwoo's fist, he grew even more terrified. I really don't know. He immediately loosened his grip, but his expression remained dark. Then Siwoo continued to interrogate in a low voice. Where is Kang Dachiel? Yuna trembled even more violently. That is... At this point, he couldn't be bothered to care anymore. Actually, forget it. Siwoo then jutted his chin towards the two motionless figures over there. These guys will do. This sentence made the guy freeze like a statue. What aren't they already done for? He stood up and looked down at his opponent. I haven't dealt with them yet. Once he was done, Siwoo left, but not without a warning. Go tell Kang Dokchul that he's next. Yuna could only meekly reply, yes. A second later, he went back on his word and grabbed the guy's face tightly. It would be hard for you to open that mouth of yours and tell him, wouldn't it? And so the cave was filled with only the sounds of punches, kicks, and agonizing screams. Afterwards, the three battered underlings returned to Dokchul's place. Siwoo appeared behind them like a demon. Dokchul! Long time no see. Been a month, hasn't it? Seeing his dark expression, Jiwoo quickly made an excuse. This is just a misunderstanding, a complete misunderstanding. Mincheol also broke out in a cold sweat. Mang Siwoo ordered us, we were forced. Siwoo pretended to be friendly, slinging an arm around Yuna's shoulder. Your plan to lure out Kang Dokchul? Nice one, do Yuna. His face turned deathly pale. No, I was forced. But he continued to throw Yuna under the bus. Your request to kill that bastard Kang Dokchul. Don't worry, I'll make it happen. A second later, he broke free from Siwoo's arm and ran for his life. No! The other two also took off. Sorry, Dokchul. His eyes were fixed on the man before him. Dokchul, now it's just you, huh? Siwoo shook his head and feigned regret. This is why you should have treated them better. I can't imagine how badly you treated them for them to ask me to kill. Before he could finish, Dokchul cut him off. What? He hissed through clenched teeth. How could you? Dokchul's expression twisted into an ugly sneer. How could a pathetic E-rank hunter like you possess such power? Siwoo acted nonchalant. I don't really know either. He dropped the playful act and questioned him. Let me ask you something. Why did you do that to me? The other man's tone was defiant. Why should I tell you? Siwoo's lips curled into an arrogant smirk. Yeah, of course you don't have to. A second later, he braced himself and lunged forward. His fist aimed straight for Dokchul's face. He instinctively drew his sword. Even so, and swung it to block Siwoo's punch, unleashing a shockwave that swept through the surrounding space. His expression was as confident as ever. I never trust guys who are all brawn anyway. A flash of discontent and rage appeared in Siwoo's eyes. He's different now, but still he's only a B-rank hunter. He swung his sword again, but Siwoo quickly ducked. He dodged it. Then he immediately jumped back to his original position to defend himself. You're faster than I thought. Siwoo maintained his defiant expression. You and your little attacks. But inside he was already falling apart. To be honest, I'm scared. Right now, I'm still not strong enough to face Dokchul. A single punch can break a sword, but it seems I still lack the skill to block one properly. Siwoo pulled himself together to face his opponent's attack. His sword path is fast but simple. I can definitely dodge it. With that thought, he ducked down. I suddenly remembered the time I used to work under Kang Dokchul. That past was like a smoldering fire eating away at Siwoo's mind. I was treated like a slave and beaten for the most ridiculous reasons. From that moment on, he was determined to get revenge. I recorded Kang Dokchul slaying monsters with a camera countless times. I've watched it hundreds of times. Thinking this, Siwoo swung his fist at his opponent. All that time I spent editing his videos, I was constantly analyzing his habits, tendencies, and behaviors. Dokchul immediately used his sword to counter, but the system gave him more points. Insight S+, proficiency 9.2% plus 0.5%. Instantly, Siwoo threw a second punch, but his opponent's defense was extremely tight. The two continued to clash fiercely, fists and iron sword meeting again and again. One attacked, the other dodged. One struck, the other countered. It went on with neither giving an inch. It wasn't until Dokchul missed a slash that the power behind his attacks began to wane. He panted from exhaustion. What is he reading all my moves? No, I'm a B-rank hunter while he's just a pathetic E-rank. The more he thought about it, the more frustrated he became. How can he do something only an S-rank hunter should be able to? While Dokchul was distracted, Siwoo landed a punch right on his chin model. Dokchul flew back from the momentum, having to stab his sword into the ground to barely keep himself standing. His hand trembled with frustration. Impossible, this is impossible. Veins were already popping on Dokchul's forehead. I confirmed Maeng Siwoo's strength through that video on YouTube, but I refused to accept this. A second later, his expression twisted demonically. Maeng Siwoo, I'm going to run you through. The sword in Dokchul's hand flashed with a terrifying killing intent. Sword flash. Siwoo's confident expression vanished. Hey, don't be like that. Inside, he was terrified. Is that bastard Kang Dokchul really going this far? Then Siwoo gave a reluctant smirk. If it's come to this, then I have no other choice. A ferocious aura erupted from his body. Time to go all out. Siwoo's shadow seemed to transform into a majestic lion. My muscles are going to tear and rupture. I can't keep this up for long. He shot forward, leaving deep cracks in the ground. I have to take him down in one blow. He appeared right in front of Doil before his opponent could even react. Siwoo's fist came crashing down like a storm. A violent explosion rang out, sending dust and debris flying everywhere. The destructive power of the attack was so great that the surrounding structures began to collapse. Captain Min Young arrived at the scene quickly. Seal off this area. Confirm if anyone is still inside. The guards immediately ran over. Yes, sir. But they didn't dare to enter the rubble and could only shout into it. We're from the inspection agency. Is anyone in there? Siwoo stood calmly amidst the thick smoke, holding Dochiol's sword in his hand. The atmosphere became strangely tense, and the entire space fell so silent that only the sound of the wind could be heard. Minjung narrowed her eyes, giving him a scrutinizing look as she asked, "You're Mang Siwoo, right?" Siwoo, with a completely emotionless face, met her prying gaze and replied, "That's right." She held out her professional ID and introduced herself in a stern voice. "I am Lee Minjung, captain of the 4th Guard Team under the Bureau's supervision. Captain of the 4th Guard Team, Lee Minjung. First, let's go to the Hunter Management Bureau and talk. So a hunter named Kang Dochiol intended to kill you, Hunter Mang Siwoo." Without a hint of panic, he calmly confirmed, "Yes, I have a video as proof." Minjung had already seen the video, but she continued to question Siwoo in a tone like she was interrogating a criminal. "I've verified the video. This isn't something that can be ignored, but Hunter Mang Siwoo is reported to be an awakened with no attributes. Guards are police officers who protect hunters, but in other words, they hunt down criminal hunters. Butcher." Siwoo was unsettled by her ice-cold gaze and her battle-hardened aura. Wariness flickered in his eyes. "I've heard that team captains are at least rank A hunters. Her demeanor is truly like a butcher's. Does the rank of an attribute have anything to do with the rank of a hunter?" Minjung maintained her probing and cold expression, replying, "I'm also aware that Hunter Mayang Siwoo is a rank E+. That's just how it is." After a series of questions, he began to lose his patience. "Even so, do I have to answer that question? I'm the victim here." Seeing Siwoo get angry, Minjung softened her tone, bowing her head slightly to explain, "I apologize. Because of my job, I tend to be suspicious of others. Now, based on the video evidence from the Arachne dungeon and the abandoned house area that you submitted, we will handle this properly. Kang Dochil will likely never see the light of day again. Let's conclude the questioning here. Thank you for your cooperation." Seeing that the matter was resolved, Siwoo walked to the door, opened it, then gave her one last deep look and said, "Then I'll be going." After he left, the door to the room opened once again. Suah entered the room, slightly surprised that she was still sitting there. "Captain, you're in. Hunter Mang Siwoo just left, so I thought you weren't here." Suddenly, Minjung looked at her and said, "How strange." Suah didn't understand and asked again, "What is Guard Yung Suah of the Management Bureau?" "Suah." Minjung didn't clear up her confusion, instead asking, "What's your rank?" Although she didn't understand why she was being asked, Suah answered with immense pride, "Why the sudden question? I was just promoted to rank B-." A sudden surge of pressure erupted. It made her unable to stand, her entire body pressed flat against the floor like a cockroach. Suah didn't understand why she was doing this. All she could do was struggle to lift her head and plead in a trembling voice, "Captain!" After releasing the pressure that had pinned Suah to the ground like a bug, Minjung mumbled as if she had just confirmed something. "Just as I predicted, you can't withstand it." Tears of pain and resentment welled up in Suah's eyes as she accused her, "Isn't that obvious? You're no ordinary guard captain. And there are rumors you're about to be promoted to S-rank butcher." She cut Suah off. Hunter Mang Siwoo was completely unaffected. Suah snapped her head up in disbelief. "What, isn't Hunter Mang Siwoo a rank E+ hunter?" Minjung knew this as well, and this very fact made Siwoo even more mysterious in her eyes. Strange. After learning that his strength wasn't ordinary, Suah grew a little anxious. "If that's true, why did you let him go, a hunter with an unclear rank?" Minjung paused for a moment, then explained, "Because he didn't act strange. He has the scent of a human." Suah couldn't make heads or tails of what she heard. What's that supposed to mean? After leaving the station, Siwoo walked alone down the main street, letting out a quiet sigh of relief. "Glad that's over with. I don't know when something like this might happen again. If my new tube channel gets more popular, I could become the target of a criminal organization. At my current level, even fighting Kang Dachiol was difficult, if it weren't for the information on Kang Dachiol's strength behavior and preferences. And Insight S+, I would have been dead long ago. Thinking about the difficulties ahead, the most important thing here is Super Strength SS. But it's not increasing. Why is it still at 1%? Just then, the system displayed a notification. Congratulations, you have completed the personal training event with Hercules, a free personal training event for reaching 1 subscriber. Siwoo stared at the highlighted text and cried out in disbelief. This is insane, I won that event. Hercules. Channel subscribers 1. Looking at the number on his channel, Siwoo was astonished. What his subscriber count is still only 1. Winning this event is a good thing, right? The next day at a sports field near Siwoo's house, Hercules' voice cried out in amazement. What? You're a human. How can a human be on my channel? Siwoo asked with a deadpan expression. Does it not work? He scratched his head, looking troubled, and replied, It's not that, but at this rate I can't give you a training program. Hearing this, Siwoo was disappointed. Does that mean I can't be trained? Seeing the misunderstanding, Hercules quickly waved his hands and explained further. No, as I said, I can't come to your location, so I can't train you directly. Come to think of it, how did I connect to GodTube? The blonde guy gave me the phone, and the white-haired guy was fighting him. While he was lost in thought, the man's voice rang out, However, although I can't correct your posture, I can at least teach you, so don't worry. Let's start right away like snapping a bull's horns in a single blow, because I can't afford to lose my precious subscriber. Let's begin, my subscriber. Looking at your body through the camera, right now your body's balance is a complete mess, especially your posterior muscles. Hearing this, Siwoo understood what he meant, but asked again to be sure, posterior muscles, you mean my back muscles, right? Hercules let out a long sigh and began to explain what he was talking about again. The posterior chain refers to the muscles on the back of your body, and the back muscles you mentioned are just one part of it. These are your lats. The back part is your traps, triceps, forearm muscles. To Siwoo's surprise, the system displayed a message. Congratulations, you have learned about perfect musculature. Proficiency of Super Strength SS has increased slightly. Proficiency of Super Strength SS 1.02%, plus 0.03%. After a brief explanation, Hercules sternly pointed out the flaws in Siwoo's training. There are many kinds of muscles in your back, and as you've noticed since they're all behind you, you can't see them yourself. That leads to you forgetting how important they are. However, those muscles are incredibly, extremely, critically important. For your body's balance, especially when you're making a risky move. Watching Hercules crack the ground with a single stomp, Siwoo's pupils contracted in terror. What the hell was that? Just now! Pleased by the look of astonishment on his face, Hercules boasted proudly, It's called divine martial arts. I created it. Siwoo, hearing this, asked skeptically, Divine martial arts. He looked up at the screen, trying to explain it to Siwoo as simply as possible. It's nothing special. I just gathered all existing combat methods into one and systemized them. It's what I used to defeat the Hydra. I hit the middle head and killed it in a single strike. Anyway, your back muscles are crucial for movement. The lower body muscles are the foundation that supports everything. Hey, what happens if the foundation collapses while a building is being constructed? Siwoo was stunned for a second, then quickly replied, The building would collapse obviously, right? Hercules immediately stomped his foot as a demonstration. It's the same with your body. After his explanation, Siwoo more or less understood. So if my lower body muscles collapse, that's what will happen. After Siwoo learned a bit of theory from him, the system announced a stat increase. You have gained physical knowledge related to super strength. Proficiency of Super Strength SS has slightly increased. Proficiency of Super Strength SS 1.12% plus 0.1%. After a moment of silence, Hercules spoke up. I'll show you an exercise that's suitable for you, so watch carefully. The basics of breathing are to inhale when you push up. Following his instructions, Siwoo immediately began practicing in front of Hercules. This training is more normal than I thought. His booming voice rang out, pointing out the mistakes in his movements. But you're not paying any attention to your breathing at all and just keep exhaling. After practicing his breathing from morning until sunset, only to be told he'd been doing it wrong, Siwoo collapsed and said, How can that be? Seeing his unconvinced expression, Hercules said sternly, Take a good look at yourself first. You should focus on doing it before asking questions. Knowing he was wrong, Siwoo didn't dare to argue and instead readjusted his breathing. I understand. Once he corrected his breathing, the system continuously sent out congratulatory notifications. You have completed the super strength exercise. Proficiency of super strength SS has slightly increased. Proficiency of super strength SS 1.12% plus 0.1%. Proficiency of super strength SS 1.35% plus 0.13%. Proficiency of super strength SS 1.47% plus 0.12%. At Deokgu's house, a conversation with Siwoo was on the computer screen. Inbox, sender Maing Siwoo. Here's the video to upload to YouTube. Today's content is a speed run. I'm leaving the editing to you. Seeing the message from him, she couldn't help but smile. She thought to herself, he's a good person, but a little crazy. My boss. What kind of strategy has he come up with this time? The video opened to a shot of a cave, but Siwoo was nowhere to be seen. A few seconds later, he appeared in a bat costume, smiling brightly and greeting the audience. Aloha, hello to all the subscribers of World Conqueror Boy. This is the boy who conquers everything, World Conqueror Boy. The cave you see behind me is the lair of vampire bats. And if you're asking why I'm here, it's time to create new content for the World Conqueror Boy channel. It's a speedrun raid. The light from the monitor reflected in Deokgu's glasses. Her expression gradually became serious and emotionless as she started editing. If I select the edit here and add a sound effect, why is he filming in a vampire bat cave? Vampire bats are numerous and live in low-light conditions, which makes filming a speedrun very difficult. But this is exactly how he grabs people's attention. As if answering her question, Siwoo on the screen held up his phone like he was checking some information. After some research, the current record is 58 seconds set by an S-rank hunter Yu Hannah of the Fire Mage channel. Today I will challenge that record. The World Conqueror Boy's Vampire Cave Speedrun Raid starts right now. Deokgu wasn't paying much attention to his words and started working on the software. In this part, I'll adjust the timing. Is he working out? The video continued to play. Siwoo was seen lifting his leg, his eyes gleaming with a cold excitement as he shouted, "Party! Challenge!" This one move of his was identical to what Hercules did the other day. He stomped one foot on the ground, shattering it into pieces. Seeing this, Deokgu looked completely thunderstruck. In the video, Siwoo seemed a bit regretful seeing the dungeon collapse. Even though she saw the dungeon collapsing, she still couldn't believe her eyes. For a dungeon to collapse? Is that even possible? Siwoo seemed to snap out of it and blamed himself. I should have gone hunting for materials, but the raid is over now. After finishing the video edit, Deokgu's perception of reality was nearly shattered. What did I just watch? But he's still a good person. Siwoo held his phone watching the view count on his latest video skyrocket and cheered excitedly. So many views! By the way, did you Hannah from the Fire Mage channel with 41 million subscribers just comment? Views 300 to 74,532. World Conqueror Boy channel subscribers 6,810. The latest comment appeared. Did I ask for his? I can't do it. That's insane. He's challenging the dungeon. I must have loved Dr. Woodahuin. Anyway, that was a speed run. Fire Mage what? Replies 485. Siwoo's ear-to-ear grin was reflected on his phone screen. He was ecstatic that he could throw his rival into a state of confusion. I can just imagine how panicked you must be hearing that your record has been broken. The Fire Mage's comment has already created a buzz, but if we collaborate, 1 million views is within reach. The image of himself swimming in mountains of cash made it impossible for Siwoo to stay calm. Then he clenched his fist so tightly his nails dug into his palm, the pain helping him come to his senses. Calm down. At a time like this, I have to upload even more exciting videos. My current super strength proficiency. The stats immediately appeared. Proficiency of super strength SS 2.01%. Seeing the number on the screen, Siwoo laughed with delight. After training with Hercules, my proficiency has surpassed 2%. I can destroy a vampire bat cave with just 2%. If it gets even higher, images of huge, dangerous creatures appeared in his mind. They looked down with blood-red eyes like hunters spotting their prey. His heart filled with even more anticipation for the so-called martial art Hercules had mentioned. Divine martial arts, right? I should try asking him to teach me that. Upon hearing Siwoo's request, Hercules refused without hesitation. No! The smile on Siwoo's face froze, but he didn't give up trying to persuade him. If you teach me during training, but the reply was still the same. No, Hercules' blunt refusal confused Siwoo. But I won the event, didn't I? He shook his head and replied, the two are different. This only confused him more. How are they different? Hercules let out a long sigh and explained personal training is one thing and divine martial arts is another. The names are already different. Besides, for a beginner like you, building muscle isn't the only issue. Because divine martial arts is a method created to suit my strength. Without the superpower I use, you can't use it. As he was speaking, Hercules was stunned by the kid's next words. But I am using your superpower. He yelled at Siwoo in disbelief. You're using my superpower. Siwoo didn't understand what he was so worked up about, but confirmed it again. That's right. You're training me, aren't you? His answer left him speechless. This is just personal training, not learning a superpower. Siwoo looked at him confused. What, but I already learned the superpower. The kid's certainty made him waver. No way. The disbelief on Hercules' face made Siwoo start to doubt the system on his phone. Aren't a god's traits something I can learn on GodTube? Or maybe the thing I learned wasn't Hercules' superpower. Wait a minute. Siwoo tensed his body and then let out a very long breath. Instantly, an image of Hercules appeared behind him. A second later, it dissipated into the air. This made him almost unable to believe his eyes. Hercules rushed over, grabbed Siwoo's shoulders tightly, and yelled, How did you? After he explained, Hercules' voice was still filled with disbelief. So you learned my superpower because you subscribe to my channel. Is it the same for other gods? Siwoo answered firmly, That's right. Is that so strange? Seeing Siwoo's innocent look, Hercules said, Of course it is. That's insane. You get a god's power if you subscribe to their channel nonsense. Seeing that he still didn't believe him, Siwoo asserted it once more. But it's real. Thinking of something, Hercules poked a finger into his bicep and asked, Wait. Come to think of it, how did you even connect to GodTube? You're a complete mortal with no divinity. His words made him pause, his brow gradually furrowed. A mortal with no divinity, because I unlocked the ability. About that. In the end, Siwoo told Hercules the story of how he met two strange people in the dungeon. He sat cross-legged, lost in thought. The two people you met, I think they might be from GodTube. Hearing his confirmation, Siwoo was extremely confused. But people from GodTube can come here. You said you couldn't come here. Hercules thought for a moment, then repeated what he just said. As you said, this space and your space can't come into contact with each other. Also, your GodTube account. You said it's a manager account, right? Siwoo replied, That's right. After hearing his confirmation, he hesitantly offered a theory. Perhaps one of the two you met is a manager. Hearing this, Siwoo grew even more curious. Do you know who the GodTube managers are? Hercules' tone became a bit hesitant when he mentioned it. I know a little. But you still can't get a god's power just because you have a manager account. Hearing that, Siwoo was a little disappointed. Is that so? Seeing the disappointment in his voice, Hercules chuckled softly. If that were the case, the managers would have become gods among gods. It's true that you've obtained my superpower. Siwoo gave a forced smile, trying to persuade him again. Then take me as your disciple. But he still refused without a second thought. Not happening. Seeing that he was still being rejected, even after proving he had the power, Siwoo asked, annoyed why he turned his head away and replied lazily, It's too much trouble. Siwoo's voice was a bit irritated. I've already learned the superpower, but Hercules still didn't want to get involved in this mess. Those two are different things. Besides, even the training is already a pain, and you want to learn divine martial arts too. No way. Seeing how adamant he was, Siwoo frowned an idea popping into his head, then asked, Then let me ask you one thing. What are subscribers considered on GodTube? Hercules paused for a moment, then explained simply, You can think of it as an element of divinity. Siwoo immediately understood the simple explanation. It means the more subscribers you have, the higher your divinity gets. I'm not sure, but generally the more the better, right? That's why he's training me, even though it's a pain. In other words, besides muscles, subscribers are the only thing Hercules is interested in. Well then, how about this? 100 subscribers. If I help you get 100 subscribers, teach me divine martial arts. Hercules' interest was genuinely piqued. He asked hurriedly, How are you going to do that? You can't even come here. Why don't you? He was about to say something else, but seeing that devilish grin and hearing that divine cackle, Hercules decided to shut up. Siwoo gave a thumbs up full of confidence and said, Just trust me on this. The next day, the interface of Hercules' channel appeared on Siwoo's phone screen. The subscribers had reached over 30,000 followers. Hercules Loki's warrior. My lessons are top-notch. After witnessing his prowess, Hercules knelt down and kowtowed to Siwoo. My Lord Master, From now on, I, Hercules, will be your loyal subordinate. He said smugly, "Go on, I'll tell you some interesting ideas." Hercules asked as if he couldn't believe it, really, master. Seeing that he had become his servant, Siwu immediately made his demand. "But you have to teach me divine martial arts." By this point, Hercules had already elevated Siwu to the status of his own god. He quickly exclaimed, "How could I possibly refuse?" Looking at his excitement, Siwu seemed confused. "What does the number of subscribers even mean?" Hercules scratched his head, trying to explain in the simplest terms. "Well, you can think of it as a type of faith. Our divinity is formed from the faith of others, so the more people know about us, the stronger it becomes, and blah, blah, blah." After listening to his explanation, Siwu pressed his lips together, a hint of doubt on his face. "That's complicated. Divinity increases in parallel with the number of subscribers. Something like that exists. Anyway, you have to teach me divine martial arts." Hercules high-fived Siwu and replied without hesitation, "I'll tell you right away, master." Hearing him say master over and over again, Siwu felt a bit awkward. Before that, just talk to me normally. Hercules wasn't one for formalities either. Hearing that, he immediately agreed. "All right, let's begin. Now, the first thing you have to do to learn divine martial arts is..." Seeing the lesson had begun, Siwu looked at him with great excitement. Hercules held up one finger and began his lecture on divine martial arts. "First, you have to build up your muscles. It's not the muscles, but the brain that's important. Practice seems better than theory." Just then, a sharp, intense pain suddenly shot through Siwu's head. It was so unbearable he could only clutch his head. "My head!" On the screen, Hercules suddenly raised his fist, channeling power into it. Then he threw a punch into the air. His strength was so immense it nearly shattered the very air itself, kicking up dust everywhere. Through the gaps in his fingers, Siwu's pupils contracted. He stared at the screen in bewilderment. "What is this Hercules' movements? I can't keep up. What is this pressure?" Just then, the system notification sounded. "You have sensed the divine martial arts of Hercules. Proficiency in superhuman strength SS has increased significantly. Superhuman strength proficiency SS 3.61%, plus 1.1%. Siwu stared at the screen in disbelief. "My proficiency used to only go up by 0.1%, and now it's jumped by 1.1%, and what's more, it's SSS rank." Seeing the pale look on Siwu's face, Hercules issued a stern warning. "As you just saw, you cannot withstand it. I am warning you about this. Your soul level is still too weak. If you were to use the divine martial arts in this state, your mind would be destroyed. Therefore, you must train your mind first." Siwu immediately understood what he was trying to explain. In other words, brain muscles means the level of one's soul. I have to make my mind stronger, which means I have to train my mind to be strong enough to withstand the divine martial arts. Well, you should have just said that from the beginning. Hercules scratched his head sheepishly and replied, "Because I don't really like talking that much." Hearing this, Siwu asked helplessly, "But I can still learn it, right?" Hercules hesitated for a moment, but still answered, "Normally it would be impossible, but I think, for you, sir, considering your circumstances, it might just be possible." Siwu asked in astonishment, "Really? My circumstances?" Hercules raised a single finger, his tone becoming unusually serious. "Because you absorb our powers." Siwu instantly grasped what he was getting at. If I can absorb the power of a god who specializes in the mind, something that can support Hercules' terrifying strength. A series of gods who could fortify his spirit immediately came to his mind. Jesus, Buddha, Confucius, Kongchu. Hercules pondered for a moment before making a suggestion. "I recommend Master Kong's channel to you, sir." Hearing Master Kong, Siwu immediately asked, "You mean Confucius?" Hercules nodded in confirmation. "That's right." Seeing the amount he'd have to spend, Siwu's face twisted into a fierce grimace at the thought of the cost. "So I have to become a member and pay that huge monthly fee." A notification popped up on the device. "Balance 153,450,001. Hearing the remaining amount, Siwu let out a long, sad sigh. "I only have 153 million left. Watuo's channel is 100 million, right? And 1 billion a month. Damn it. This much is way too big, isn't it? I mean, should I really be doing this?" Just then, Soyun appeared. "I'm back." Siwu wearily greeted her. "Oh, you're here." She held out a bag. "Here are the ogre tendons you needed." At the mention of money, Siwu's mood instantly soured. "How much you said? 1 million, right?" Soyun gave a strained smile and corrected him. "To be precise, it's 113 million won." Watching the money just fly away like that, Siwoo wanted to cry but had no tears left. Thanks. Receiving the payment, she was overjoyed. Thank you for using Soyun's products. At that moment, Siwoo's account displayed balance 40,450,000 won. Soyun was about to leave, but curiosity made her stop and ask, "But Siwoo, what are you planning to do with the ogre tendons?" He smiled at her and replied, "I'm planning to forge some equipment." Hearing that, she looked confused. Equipment. Siwoo didn't explain much, simply answering, "That's right." Looking at the ogre tendons in his hand, a pained smile appeared on Siwoo's face. Ogres are A+ rank monsters, so I can't hunt them myself. If I want to learn the divine martial arts, I need 1 billion won, which means I have to use good materials to forge good equipment and sell it. I could also practice using the equipment for myself. When will I ever be able to forge equipment for myself? Money is my enemy, my eternal enemy. Well, I guess I should get started. Let's get started, shall we? Just then, Palguang opened the door and walked in from outside. The blazing flames from the forge sent waves of heat through the room. A confused expression appeared on his face. Seeing Soyun there, he asked irritably, "What brings you here?" But Soyun was completely frozen, shocked by the scene in front of her, and couldn't answer him. It was only then that Palguang noticed that, to put it mildly, one-of-a-kind scene before his eyes. He was so stunned he was speechless. Siwoo was holding something with his bare hands and seemed to be struggling a bit with it. Beads of sweat dripped down his face. A sudden flash of light erupted, making the entire space fall strangely silent. The only sound left was that of restrained, ragged breathing. Looking at the finished product, Siwoo broke into a wide smile, proud of himself. The two people standing behind him stared at the object floating in mid-air, their mouths hanging open in shock. The two words "completed" appeared. Palguang's trembling voice rang out, "That's—" As he took hold of the gauntlet he had just successfully forged, the system announced an increase in stats. Proficiency in Divine Alchemy SS has increased significantly. Siwoo seemed a little disappointed with the gauntlet he had just made. "Even though I tried my best, it's still just a reject, huh?" The system announced proficiency in Divine Alchemy, SS 10.43% plus 5%. Palguang ran over in disbelief, staring intently at the gauntlet in his hand. "How in the world did you—" He smiled and turned back to ask her, "Miss Soyun, how much can I sell this for?" Soyun, as if not yet recovered from the shock, froze for a few seconds. "What? You want to sell it for an item like this? It's beyond my abilities. None of my clients could possibly afford an item of this grade." Hearing that it couldn't be sold, Siwoo grew even more disappointed. "If I can't sell it, then what's the point? I need to subscribe to Confucius's channel, pay for Huatuo's channel membership, and cover Sioa's medical expenses." Siwoo forced a smile and pleaded with Soyun for her help. "Don't feel too pressured, just please sell it for me. It's just a reject after all." Hearing those words, she could hardly believe her ears. "A reject? Since you're entrusting it to me, I'll do my absolute best." "Siwoo, you'll entrust this to me, right? Sir, may I borrow your name?" Hearing this, Palguang was taken aback. "My name." Soyun then revealed her intention. "I'm thinking of putting this item up for auction." Siwoo, hearing this for the first time, asked in astonishment, "An auction?" The scene changes to an auction house. The female auctioneer stood on the podium and announced to the guests below, "Our next item." It's finally appeared. An item that even Master Seo Palguang couldn't create or acknowledge. Upon hearing the blacksmith's name, the guests began to murmur amongst themselves, "Master Seo Palguang, isn't he the blacksmith acknowledged by Aurelian?" The auctioneer didn't keep everyone waiting for long, and immediately yanked off the red cloth to introduce the gauntlets Siwoo had made. "The item we are introducing is a pair of high-quality gauntlets. These gauntlets are made from the sinew of an ogre, making them incredibly durable. That means you don't have to worry about them getting damaged. And don't be surprised because they are made from the sinew of an ogre, an A-rank monster. Analysis indicates that it has the ability to enhance the wearer's strength." The guests erupted upon hearing about its effect. It can enhance the wearer's strength. Is it an enhanced piece of equipment? Isn't Master Aurelian the only one who can create enhanced equipment? Seeing the speculation getting out of hand, the auctioneer quickly spoke up to explain, "My apologies, it is not an enhanced piece of equipment. It is said to increase strength by a small amount, about 5%. Even so, the guests were still very much looking forward to it. It's still a piece of equipment with a special effect, and gauntlets are also an effective piece of support gear. The auctioneer, seeing the atmosphere in the room heat up, immediately got to the main event. Based on your reactions, I'll be beaten to death if I stall any longer. Let's begin. The starting price will be 10 million won with a minimum increment of 5 million won per bid. The guests couldn't wait and began raising the cards in their hands. Seeing each placard go up, the auctioneer's voice grew more enthusiastic. 10 million, 15 million, 20 million, 25 million, 30 million, 35, 40, 45, 50. We will now adjust the bidding increment to 10 million, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. We will now adjust the bidding increment to 150 million, 150, 200, 250. 300 million won, 350 million won, 350 million won. Are there any higher bids? Just then, a very familiar voice rang out, clearly calling out two words, 2 billion. Hearing the number jump into the billions, the guests quickly turned their heads. When they saw it was Sharon, everyone was surprised. Sharon. Even the auctioneer's expression changed upon hearing this number. 2 billion, 2 billion, is there a higher bid? At that moment, Minjung raised her placard, adding another 100 million. 2.1 billion. Someone recognized her and spoke out in disbelief. Is that Lee Minjung? The blond, blue-eyed man sitting in front of her quietly asked his companion, Lee Minjung, you mean Lee Minjung the butcher? Hearing this nickname, Minjung's anger flared. Sharon, flaunting her wealth, immediately raised it. 3 billion. Minjung ground her teeth and added another 100 million, 3.1 billion. But Sharon gave her no chance to compete. She immediately raised the bid again, 4 billion. After hearing this number, the auctioneer was also completely stunned. She turned her head to look around and asked one last time, 4 billion. Anyone with a higher bid, 4 billion going once, 4 billion going twice. Sold. The pair of gauntlets is sold for 4 billion. Sharon left her seat and strode forcefully out of the auction hall. A triumphant smile appeared on her lips, having won what was hers. Meanwhile, at Palguang's house, we don't have to eat here. But Siwoo didn't want to make a big deal of it. He gently reassured her, we should try eating at a place like this. Looking at his remaining balance, Siwoo smiled smugly. 600,000 won per person, who cares? I still have 2.6 billion in my account. Now the membership fee for Hua Tuo's channel is 100 million, and Confucius's channel is 1 billion. That's a total of 1.1 billion. Let's not think about it. I guess I'll watch some GodTube until the food arrives. He opened his channel. Confucius channel. 34,566 subscribers. Although he speaks slowly and is hard to understand, he acts fast. Seeing the number of followers on his page, he thought in amazement, 34,000 subscribers. That's a lot. Did all of Confucius's disciples subscribe to his channel? So there's online learning on GodTube too. He said I need to train my mind to learn the divine martial arts, so I thought it would be SS rank. It's not a combat channel. SS rank means it's a higher rank than the divine martial arts. Since I need to increase my proficiency, let's watch a video first and get a deeper understanding of it. A peaceful scene with a breath of fresh air appeared on the screen. Confucius's serious, somewhat rhythmic voice rang out. A gentleman is a person who cares for those around him. After listening to him for a while, Siwoo finally had to admit one thing. I can feel it. Extreme boredom. But this wasn't without its rewards. A system notification appeared. You have mastered the basics of Confucianism. Proficiency in the gentleman's benevolence, righteousness, propriety, and wisdom SSS has increased slightly. Proficiency in the gentleman's benevolence, righteousness, propriety, and wisdom SSS has increased slightly by 0.01%, plus 0.01%. Hercules, after hearing Siwoo's story, hesitated before asking, you mean, although you have received Master Confucius's spiritual power, you haven't received it completely? Siwoo replied dejectedly. That's right. I have to raise my proficiency first. Hearing this, Hercules gently stroked his chin, trying to find the simplest words to explain to Siwoo. As I said, divine martial arts is not something you can use at your level. How should I put this? It's like bending the laws of the world. It's not just about using super strength. You will control mana by focusing it in the liver, and the mana is the source. To use it more actively, you need to amplify your internal organs to contain your intent and make it easier to control the mana. Eastern mythology calls this internal energy. You probably think this is boring and don't understand what I'm saying, right? As if to demonstrate his explanation, Hercules immediately began to put it into practice. His mana almost seemed to overflow from the screen, making Siwoo jump and yell, "What the?" After practicing for Siwoo, Hercules rose once more to emphasize, You want to learn the divine martial arts. You want to achieve this power, not the complex stuff. I'm not wrong, am I? Even if you wanted to say no, I don't think you could. Although Siwoo didn't want to admit it, he still had to say you're right. Hercules started speaking in riddles again. Then think about it. A way for you to learn the divine martial arts more easily. The answer is your muscles. Siwoo was once again lost in a fog of confusion, not understanding what he was saying. What? Seeing that he still didn't understand, Hercules raised his voice and explained again, "If your body isn't well, your mind will also be injured." Siwoo asked dejectedly. "Isn't there another way?" He replied, annoyed. "You can learn the complex stuff through your own muscles. Let the headache transfer the knowledge to your muscles." Hearing that, Siwoo put on an expression like he had nothing left to live for. "SH group." Tae-san asked Sharon with concern, "I heard you bought a piece of equipment." The young woman smiled and replied, "Yes, sir. I'm very satisfied with it." Tae-san looked at her curiously. "I heard it cost 4 billion. Hearing the doubtful tone in his voice, she calmly looked up and replied, "Although it can't be compared to Sir Aurelian's sword. It's a perfect piece of support equipment. I feel like I've reached a whole other level with just one item." Hearing her confirmation, Tae-san didn't seem angry that she had thrown money out the window, but rather was very happy that Sharon had gotten what she wanted. "I'm very glad to hear that. Chairman of SH Group Han Tae-san, if you need anything, just tell me." She bowed her head gratefully and replied, "Thank you, sir. I think we can begin now. S-rank dungeon raid." The next day, the afternoon glow descended, adding a bit of color to the sky. The sound of heavy panting rang out. Exhausted and worn out, Siwoo lay flat on the floor. "I can't keep up anymore. Divine martial arts. I have to learn it properly." Picking up his phone, he scrolled aimlessly. Then he sat up, looking somewhat dejected. "I can't increase my proficiency like this. Can I even do this?" A conversation between Confucius and the Heavenly Emperor appeared. The Emperor asked him, "Is there a way to avoid a battle that one can never win?" Confucius smiled brightly and answered firmly, "There is, by never stopping the fight." That saying replayed in Siwoo's mind, causing his gloomy mood to gradually disappear. He stood up, let out a long breath, and looked towards the sky. Siwoo calmed his mind and slowly focused his energy into his core. Hercules was once human. He was a hero who surpassed the gods in human form. Didn't Hercules also struggle? Didn't he also face difficulties? Didn't he also fail the divine martial arts? A power that can make you doubt yourself, but once you achieve it, it's more than just a martial art. I'm not talented. Therefore, what I need to do now is put in relentless effort. In that moment, the wind picked up. Siwoo did it. Ki flowed from his fist. The ground beneath his feet was nearly crushed. At that moment, the system's joyful voice rang out. "Indomitability will spread throughout your body. Proficiency in the gentleman's benevolence, righteousness, propriety, and wisdom SSS has increased. Proficiency in the gentleman's benevolence, righteousness, propriety, and wisdom SSS has increased by 0.51%. This notification immediately pulled the meditating Siwoo back to reality. He widened his eyes, almost unable to believe it. At that moment, the scene before him was even more terrifying. A part of the forest's edge had been shattered by his one strike, creating a path carved into the ground. A notification from the system rang out at that very moment. "You have mastered Hercules' Divine Martial Arts SSS." Siwoo stared blankly at the results of his own doing. His stats gradually increased. Divine Martial Arts Proficiency 0.03% plus 0.03%. Looking at the dangerous situation before him, Siwoo gave a wry smile and muttered, "I'll have to find a private training room. I wonder how much that costs to rent." Deoku, full of tension, stared at the computer screen. She tried to take a deep breath to calm herself down. On the screen was a message he had sent Boss Mying Siwoo. "Post this video on YouTube. Please edit it for me. Tag it Vampire Bat Dungeon Speedrun Breakthrough Video." Deoku looked at the line below and fell into thought. Just like the last video about the vampire bats. The Flame Sorceress broke the boss's record on her channel and reclaimed the top spot. A terrifying record of 11 seconds. The raid was over the moment it began, and he's still filming a video with the same content. On the screen now was Siwoo in a tight-fitting wizard costume, waving his hand and giving an awkward laugh as he greeted his fans. Hello, viewers of The Boy Who Conquers the World channel. I am the conqueror of all things, the boy who conquers the world. I heard the Flame Sorceress channel just set a new record. 11 seconds is an impressive record. That's why today we're going to have Conquering the Flame Sorceress Miss Yu Hannah. Conquering the Flame Sorceress Miss Yu Hannah. Siwoo let out a dry laugh and then joked with the camera. You all are probably wondering why I'm suddenly targeting Miss Yu Hannah. If I really went after her, I'd be burned to a crisp. I can't do that without proper preparation, right? That's why the strategy I'm going to show you today is how to conquer Miss Yu Hannah's top spot. Enough talk, let's get started. On the screen, his foot was raised high, then stomped hard on the ground at a speed so fast it was almost impossible to see. Boom. That was the first sound everyone heard as his foot came down as if something had been shattered. Doil stared as the screen playing the video suddenly went black and cried out in shock. Her hand on the mouse moved quickly. Wait a minute, he sent me 2 videos. After opening the second video, the expression on her face almost shattered, her pupils contracting in disbelief. It was a top-down camera angle showing Siwoo with his leg raised high. Then he stomped down hard and a continuous rumbling sound echoed out. The gate to the dungeon seemed to be affected by it becoming distorted. The ground beneath Siwoo's feet had cracked and the dungeon in front of him had completely collapsed from that single stomp, vanishing without a trace. His regretful voice rang out, "Now that I think about it, I could have trained inside the dungeon, right?" Doku's face turned pale as she watched the horrifying scene. What the hell am I watching? Wait a minute, the length of the video is 4 seconds. At home, Siwoo was overjoyed watching the latest video Doku had edited and uploaded. Views 342,775. Subscribers to The Boy Who Conquers the World channel 11,560. Thanks to the divine martial arts, the number of views and comments had skyrocketed. At this rate, earning 100 million won is no longer just a dream. A comment caught his attention. Isn't this enough to take on the dungeon that Han Sharon failed to clear Han Sharon's failed raid? People who hadn't heard the news immediately replied to that comment asking, Han Sharon's raid failed. What happened to Han Sharon? She's not dead, is she? Are there that many S ranks? Actually, I don't even know where I heard that. Seeing that no one really knew, Siwoo breathed a sigh of relief. It's just a rumor. But then that comment reappeared with a confirmation. I checked and it seems to be true. It's in the papers. Someone didn't believe it. Really, for real, give me the link. The other person sent a link in reply. Check it out, it's real. Only then did Siwoo realize in shock that the person wasn't lying. Is it true? He opened the article and the first thing that hit him was a picture of Sharon surrounded by reporters along with a mocking headline, Where will the future of SH Group go after their failed S-rank dungeon raid? Below was the content of the article. Around 1 p.m. today, it was reported that S-rank Hunter Han Sharon, representative of the SH Guild, failed a dungeon raid. Fortunately, there were no casualties. However, as this raid was very important for Hunter Han Sharon, the news of her failure has disappointed many. There are many negative views directed towards SH Group. The SH Group had invested heavily in its Hunter division and dreamed of entering the market, but this incident has shattered that dream. Furthermore, their stock is plummeting. After reading it, Siwoo was skeptical about the article. It doesn't say how she failed. Why should I care? I don't have time to worry about her. I'm busy as hell. She'll figure a way out. The top floor of the SH Group building? Mina saw Sharon coming out of the chairman's office and immediately called out, Well, look who it is! Seeing her, the young woman's expression darkened as she gave a curt reply. Hello? Director Han Mina. SH Group's Director Han Mina. She ignored the young woman's blatant dislike and kept a friendly smile on her face. It's been a while, my dear niece. How have you been? Look at you. On your way out after seeing the chairman. Her nosiness made Sharon uncomfortable. Yes, I thought I should come see my grandfather. Mina put on a sorrowful expression as she spoke of the current difficulties. The chairman has called a meeting. The company is in chaos right now. Not only has the stock fallen, but many investors have also pulled out. But it's not your fault, dear. It's just that we all got our hopes up too high. You can go now. Otherwise, you'll run into your brothers. After she left, Sharon remained standing there silently. The gentle morning light filtered through the door, casting a warm glow on the floor. Siwoo, holding a bowl of medicine, watched Seoa's small body cringe from the bitterness and asked worriedly, It's a little bitter, isn't it? She groaned in misery. This is definitely a punishment, it really is. Seeing her health gradually improving, Siwoo silently gave thanks for the skill he had received. It's great that the proficiency for Divine Medicine S+ has increased significantly. Proficiency Divine Medicine S+ 20.47%. That's why it's easier to drink than last time. After learning gentleman's dignity, all of my stats have increased. Not just Divine Martial Arts SSS, but also Superhuman Strength SS, Sagacity S+, and Divine Alchemy SS. Sagacity S+ increased the most since it's related to the other stats. Sagacity S+ proficiency 24,840. Gentleman's dignity truly is an SSS rank skill. COA's condition has definitely improved. It's working. If I just keep increasing the proficiency of Divine Medicine S+, I can definitely cure COA. The problem is money. The registration fee. To pay the membership fees for Hua Tuo and Confucius, the 1.7 billion I have right now should be enough. It would be great if I could sell this medicine, but you can't just sell medicine recklessly without a license. I'll ask Soyun. Suddenly there was a knock on the door. Siwoo turned his head towards it. Who is it? From outside, Minjae's careful voice could be heard. Excuse me, is this the residence of Mr. Mang Siwoo? I am Miss Han Sharon's secretary. Kang Minjae? The young mistress wants to raid the dungeon again. Hearing this request, Siwoo frowned in thought. Han Sharon wanted to raid the dungeon again and she needed his help. Does she want me to make a plan? Minjae replied, yes. With him here, Siwoo, though a bit hesitant, still wanted to know what had happened before in the S-rank dungeon. Furthermore, what happened inside that dungeon? Minjae wanted to say more, but was restricted, so he could only apologize guiltily. I'm sorry, but I wasn't told the details either. She only told me that your support is absolutely essential. The young mistress wanted to come herself, but there are too many prying eyes, so please forgive us. Can I speak with her? Siwoo's head was bowed, the scent of money lingering under his nose, making it almost impossible for him to contain his excitement. I can smell it. The sweet scent of New Tube, SH Hunter Guild Headquarters Gym. As Siwoo entered the room, he saw Sharon using training gloves. A bit of joy filled his heart. She's wearing the gloves I made. She still hadn't noticed Siwoo's arrival, completely lost in her sword practice. Seeing how engrossed she was in her training, Minjae wanted to step forward and stop her. Let me call her. Siwoo wasn't in a hurry and stopped him. No need, just wait. A training trance. Training with such intense concentration will surely lead to a great harvest. I used to be like that too. Hearing this, he seemed to disagree. But Siwoo didn't want to explain much and just put it simply, I only have to wait a moment, but for Miss Sharon, a rare opportunity might present itself. At that moment, Sharon had indeed fallen into a training trance. Her muscles tensed and rose with every movement, sweat dripping down continuously. Siwoo watched her sword dance and made an assessment. Her movements are still unsystematic. Is it because my own knowledge has increased after gaining Enlightenment S+ and Divine Martial Arts? She's just swinging her sword randomly. Besides, I've heard that Sharon has never formally studied swordsmanship. One of Han Sharon's attributes is Swordsmanship S, yet she only fights with her sword based on instinct. I get the feeling she could also use Super Strength SS like me, but hasn't learned the Divine Martial Arts to properly wield it. Swordsmanship based solely on instinct will eventually reveal its limits. If she were taught martial arts, she would surely improve by leaps and bounds. Could it be that the only way for Han Sharon to improve is to become a disciple of a martial arts clan? But what good would that do for Han Sharon? The SH Corporation wouldn't allow it anyway. If Han Sharon became a clan disciple, she would no longer be a member of the SH Corporation. A powerful family isn't always an advantage, it seems. Anyway, at Han Sharon's level, she could probably continue learning martial arts from GodTube. King Arthur, the legendary knight of the Round Table. What if King Arthur was the one to choose me? The owner of the holy sword Balmung, great tips from a dragon expert Siegfried, the first dragon slayer. Zhang Yu, a man who could single-handedly fight 10,000 enemies. I will try. You sing. Zhang Yu, I captured Liu Bang and made him sing the Han Dynasty's national anthem. Even if those videos are a bit crazy, what if Han Sharon could actually learn their martial arts? But she can't watch GodTube, let alone learn from it. Oh, wait a minute. Then I can just watch it and teach her. Even if I have to pay an additional membership fee, I can make that money from Han Sharon, right? Whether it's 1 billion or 10 billion, it's nothing to the granddaughter of the SH Corporation. I might even get paid a teaching fee. About 10 billion should be fine, right? What a bargain. My retire with Han Sharon plan. But the problem is, would an A-rank hunter like Han Sharon let a D-rank hunter like me teach her? Besides, I can only teach her what I've learned. Can I even teach the divine martial arts I learned on my own? But it's too much of a waste to just give up like this. While Siwoo was pondering how to get rich off Sharon, she had finished her training and noticed he had arrived. She gently chided Minjae. You should have told me he was here. Seeing her displeased expression, he hurriedly explained, My apologies, young miss. Mr. Siwoo said he didn't want to disturb your training. Hearing that, Sharon didn't say anything more. I see. In Siwoo's eyes, her whole body seemed to be enveloped in a radiant aura so bright it was dazzling. Siwoo was once again mesmerized by her beauty, unable to look away. Flustered by his captivated gaze, Sharon quickly made an excuse to leave. Let me go wash my face. Siwoo, however, was still lost in her beauty, thinking, she's so beautiful. In the break room, Sharon said apologetically, You must have been waiting for a long time. Siwoo, now out of his daze, got straight to the point. No, miss. More importantly, I heard you need my help. What happened in the dungeon? At the mention of this topic, Sharon hesitated. Inside the dungeon, there were no monsters. As if he hadn't heard clearly, Siwoo asked again, What did you say? Sharon lowered her head dejectedly and repeated, When I entered the dungeon with my teammates, there wasn't a single monster, but we did encounter some kind of beast. Hearing this, Siwoo grew even more confused. So there was a monster, Sharon replied. Yes. Those fierce vertical pupils flashed in her mind. Just remembering it sent a chill down her spine. Sharon lowered her head and described its appearance. But its appearance was like a wolf, so it's hard to even call it a monster. I've never seen a monster like that before. Hearing this description, the image of a wolf appeared in Siwoo's mind. A wolf monster? Wolf-type monsters are quite diverse, but as far as I know, no wolf monsters have appeared in S-rank dungeons. At this point, her hands resting on the table were trembling slightly and her voice became choked up. I don't know how to deal with it. Her anxiety and fear made Siwoo even more curious about the S-rank dungeon. Even for an S-rank dungeon with Han Charon's A+ rank strength, she shouldn't be saying this. You couldn't handle it. Although she didn't want to, she had to admit it. Yes, her confirmation made Siwoo anxious. Besides, Han Charon didn't go in alone. She had talented teammates with incredible gear, and yet they still failed. No, it's not that they failed. It was just beyond their control. In short, there was only a single monster in the dungeon, and it was so strong that even Miss Sharon couldn't fight it. A single monster in the dungeon so powerful an A-rank hunter couldn't kill it. A dungeon's rank is determined by the total amount of mana inside it, so it's almost impossible for the rank to be decided by just one monster. However, there are special cases where a dungeon's rank is based on a single monster, a variant. Another name for a variant is a super monster. A monster that possesses all the mana in a dungeon? If that's what they ran into, then it makes perfect sense that Han Charon couldn't handle it. A super monster is dangerous enough, but in an S-rank dungeon, I'd guess there's a high probability you encountered a super monster. She stared blankly for a moment, then looked at him seriously. A super monster. This is the first I've ever heard of it. Although he wasn't 100% certain, Siwoo was about 70 to 80% sure. He advised her seriously, I think it's best to give up on this dungeon. There's no reason to challenge it again. It's not that important, and this could be life-threatening. But Sharon, knowing her company was in trouble because of this, couldn't back down. Her voice was resolute as she replied, No, I have to do this. Siwoo didn't understand why she was so stubborn. Can you tell me why? Sharon's usually straight back slumped slightly. It's not just me who's in trouble. After hearing her explanation, Siwoo was able to summarize the situation. Because of Han Charon's failed raid, the SH Corporation was facing a crisis. Billions of won had supposedly evaporated just minutes after the news article was published, and they had to stop the stock price from falling any further. Sharon repeated her wish with determination. I have to fix my mistake. Siwoo remained silent, but inwardly he agreed. Han Charon had to successfully raid the dungeon as soon as possible. Of course, this was a life-or-death situation. But weren't billions of won worth risking your life for? An S-rank supermonster that's never appeared before? This is going to be tough. All right, I understand. In return, I have one condition. I want you to let me film it and upload it to YouTube. Sharon asked blankly. YouTube Siwoo took the opportunity to state his price. And 10 billion. I can't go any lower than that. Seeing the number in his bank account go up, Siwoo thought with a bit of regret. A 1 billion down payment, I should have asked for more. Who knew she'd agree so easily? Whatever, I shouldn't be too greedy. 10 billion is a lot of money. This monster has never appeared before. I don't even know if I can come up with a strategy. If I demanded more, the pressure would have been even greater. Anyway, my Mastery Insight S Plus is already at 24%. That should be enough to analyze an S-rank super monster. No, I have to analyze it no matter what. The next day, inside the S-rank dungeon. Since she had been here before, Sharon volunteered to go first. I'll lead the way. Siwoo glanced at her discreetly. Han Sharon let me into this S-rank dungeon on the condition that she came with me. Honestly, this is incredibly dangerous, and I didn't want to come in alone like this either, but I have to see what's inside before I can come up with a strategy to deal with it. Besides, with Super Strength SS and Divine Martial Arts SSS, even if I'm not confident I can defeat an S-rank super monster, I'm still confident I can get out of here alive. As expected, the atmosphere is completely different from a low-rank dungeon. Karen looked at the scenery and spoke up. Let's go a little deeper. Inside the dungeon, the moon in the sky was unusually round. Karen seemed to be on edge. She kept flexing her wrists. Siwoo noticed something was off and stepped forward to ask, "Those gloves, don't they fit?" Sharon replied softly, "They're a little big." Seeing this, Siwoo smiled and said, "Let me adjust them for you. I didn't know who would be wearing them, so I made them to fit my own hands. They won't fall off, but it must be pretty uncomfortable, right?" The gloves shrank the moment Siwoo channeled his mana into them. Feeling the gloves slowly conform to her hands, Sharon let out a gasp of surprise. After finishing the adjustment, Siwoo flashed a professional smile and said, "Just consider it part of the service." Sharon, who hadn't paid attention to his comment about making them to his own size, asked in disbelief, "How did you know about this feature?" He scratched his head and revealed sheepishly, "Because I'm the one who made these gloves." She asked again in shock, "What?" "Then you're the one acknowledged by Master Seo Palguang." Siwoo gently cut her off to explain, "I don't know about that part, I just work at the same forge as him." Suddenly a sound echoed as a dangerous presence approached. Only then did Siwoo sense it. He looked warily in the direction of the terrifying aura. "What is this? This energy?" After steadying himself, Siwoo looked up. The eyes of a beast emerged from the darkness, staring intently at the two of them. Red sparks appeared in the air, gradually gathering to form an entity. A massive wolf's paw with sharp claws appeared before them. Its appearance made Siwoo's pupils contract. An almost uncontrollable fear welled up in his eyes. "This is completely different. It's on a completely different level from me." Seeing it, Sharon immediately drew her sword, stood in front of him, and pushed him back. "Siwoo, get behind me!" In his eyes was Fenrir, a sword stuck in its snout, looking down menacingly at them from above. For the first time, Siwoo felt the pressure of this mythical beast. So this is an S-rank super monster. Fenrir watched the two strange humans appear. Despite its ferocious face, it stood still and didn't attack. Seeing Fenrir's massive form, Siwoo's face turned pale with fear. He mentally calculated their chances of survival. Could Han Sharon even beat this black wolf? What if I interfered? No, more importantly, we're not ready. I only came here to confirm what kind of monster this is. We shouldn't fight it. For the sake of survival, Siwoo didn't hesitate to draw on Hercules' power. His pupils turned jade green. Siwoo stomped his foot, creating a tremor to give them both a chance to escape. Siwoo's hand gripped Sharon's shoulder tightly. Then he yelled, "Run!" Startled, she quickly replied, "Yes." After that, the two of them ran for their lives, hoping to leave this god-forsaken place as fast as possible. Fenrir's shrill howl echoed behind them. Just then, the dungeon gate emitted a flash of light. Siwoo and Sharon had successfully escaped from that terrifying dungeon. Recalling its ferocious form, Siwoo panted heavily. "Since I didn't fight it directly, I'm not entirely sure, but it would take at least 5 S-rank hunters to even face it." Karen then spoke up. "Siwoo, what was that power just now?" Siwoo didn't answer her question, instead asking one of his own. "Before that, how did you and your entire team manage to get back alive after facing that monster?" Sharon recalled her first time in the dungeon, her expression changing as she answered in a low voice. "We were very lucky." Siwoo asked her again, "Are you really going to attack it again?" Even though she felt the chances of winning were slim, she was still incredibly determined. "Yes, I have to. If you can come up with a plan, we'll handle the raid." The two of them had an intense stare-down. In the end, Siwoo gave in to her stubbornness. "I'll contact you after I'm done with my analysis." Back at his house, Siwoo played the video. Fenrir's form was clearly visible on the screen. The more Siwoo watched, the more curious he became about its identity. What kind of monster is this? A high-grade species is considered an upgraded version of a normal monster. There must be a species it evolved from. Documents published by the Association Encyclopedias. I've searched for so much information online, but I still can't find it. Even after using Sagacity S+, I still can't find any clues. What is it? Cut to a training session with our great Hercules. All right, let's stop here for today. After Siwoo finished his training session with him while panting like a dog, the system announced his progress. You have completed Hercules' training. Related proficiencies have increased. Superhuman Strength Proficiency, SS 5.88% plus 0.14%. Divine Martial Arts of Hercules, Proficiency SSS 0.06% plus 0.01%. Seeing how tired he was, Hercules clicked his tongue and said, "Tired already." Siwoo ignored him, focusing on the phone in his hand. Seeing that he was being ignored, Hercules curiously approached. "What are you looking at, my lord?" Siwoo's hand, which was scrolling, stopped. "This. It's a monster I've been researching recently." Out of curiosity, he asked again. Researching, Siwoo glanced at him and replied, "That's right. Today's the third day and I still don't know what it is." Hearing this, Hercules immediately wanted to help. "Really? Let me see." But when he saw the image of Fenrir, his face froze in shock. Seeing him speechless, Siwoo quickly asked, "Do you know what it is?" As if snapping out of it, Hercules stammered in disbelief. "Wait a minute, this thing! Isn't this Fenrir?" Hearing that, Siwoo's face visibly paled. "What? Fenrir, a mythical monster from the epics. Its other name is the demon wolf, and it's a god-slaying wolf. The reason Fenrir is called that is simple. It's the creature that brought about the end of Ragnarok. It is Fenrir whose upper jaw reached the heavens and whose lower jaw touched the earth. Fenrir destroyed everything. In the end, Fenrir, the one who devoured the world, bit and killed Odin, the chief god of Norse mythology." After recalling the myth, a shocked Siwoo questioned Hercules. "What is Fenrir doing here? No, how did it even get here?" He froze for a few seconds, then asked back in disbelief, "What? How can it be there?" Suddenly, Siwoo stopped. A bold speculation popped into his head. "The nameless one who gave me the phone connected to GodTube. And Fenrir, too. Hercules is probably the only one who doesn't know how he got here. Is it really Fenrir?" Though not 100% sure, Hercules was about 80 to 90% certain. "I think so. I fought it once, but of course I won." With his confirmation, Siwoo asked, "Really then, perhaps, what would happen if I fought Fenrir?" Hercules fell into deep thought. "You, my lord, against Fenrir," Siwoo replied. "That's right." After a moment of calculation, he gave an answer. "I'm not sure. Maybe it would take 1 second." Siwoo followed his finger with a blank stare and asked, "1 second." His next sentence made Siwoo's face darken. "Until you're torn to shreds. But when I look at it, I'm not so sure. From here, it looks like it's extremely weak. Its form is that of a wolf cub." Siwoo couldn't believe that in this form it was just a cub. A cub, it's still the size of a small mountain, but compared to the Fenrir of legend, this is definitely. Hercules looked at the shackles on its feet, his voice filled with confusion. "It's also wearing some kind of accessory I've never seen before." Hearing that, Siwoo took a closer look at Fenrir. An accessory. Seeing he was still confused, he pointed at the screen. "Look, it seems that thing has sealed Fenrir's power." Siwoo asked curiously, "What is this?" "The thing shackling Fenrir is called Gleipnir. It's said that it cannot be broken by anything in this world." After seeing Gleipnir binding it, Hercules changed his answer about how long he could survive against it. "Against this version of Fenrir, I'd guess 1 minute." Before Siwoo could even react, he asked, 1 minute. He calmly explained, "Until you're torn to shreds." After learning it was a mythical creature, Siwoo grew even more curious about why it was thrown into a dungeon like this. How did Fenrir get here, and why, if this black wolf really is Fenrir, then there's no way? Just then, Hercules started to prove his worth. "Shouldn't I at least tell you its weakness? Should I tell him or not?" Seeing the calculating look in his eyes, Siwoo coldly stated his condition. "If you tell me, I'll share video content worth 200 subscribers with you." Hearing that, Hercules left excitedly. "I'll go gather the materials and bring them right away, master." H Group headquarters, waiting area near the dungeon. As Sharon walked past the long line of reporters, the crowd, like hungry leeches, began to bombard her with questions. "Why aren't you giving up on this dungeon? How did you decide to return and attempt a re-raid?" Sharon opened the door to the briefing room. Looking at the familiar team before her, she said coldly, "Looks like everyone's here. Let's move out." At that moment, Siwoo also appeared. Holding a camera, he began to greet his audience. Hello, subscribers of the World Conqueror. A member of the protection team saw him and curiously asked his comrade, "Who's that guy?" The white-haired man smiled and replied, "He's a new tuber." Hearing that the man with the scar looked skeptical, a new tuber, the white-haired man, seeing he genuinely didn't know, explained, "His channel is called World Conqueror. I guess that's his nickname." Hearing Siwoo's channel name, the man with the scar looked disdainful. "World Conqueror? I doubt that's a famous channel. What's a new tuber doing here?" The white-haired man, who had more information, replied, "I heard he's the one who came up with the dungeon raid strategy." This made the man with the scar even more skeptical of his abilities. "A strategy against that asterisk wolf? What nonsense is this?" Seeing him suddenly get angry, the white-haired man quickly said, "We don't know for sure, that's just what I heard." Siwoo's appearance clearly soured the mood of the man with the scar. "The support for team members is already terrible, and now they're bringing a new tuber along too. Leader Sharon is really reckless." The white-haired man seemed unconcerned by this and asked, "Anyway, Senior, what will you do when this is all over smoothly? As for me, when this is done?" The man with the scar cut off his incessant rambling. "Stop talking nonsense and prepare to enter the dungeon." Inside the S-rank dungeon. Returning here again, Siwoo no longer seemed as scared as he was the first time. He was happily filming the dungeon and introducing it to everyone. "Hey everyone, we've now entered the S-rank dungeon. You can probably all feel it, right, this immense energy." His loud talking annoyed the man with the scar. "Are you Mang Siwoo making so much noise filming a video at such a critical moment? What if the Black Wolf hears you?" Just then a terrifying pressure appeared, cutting short his cursing thoughts. It was Fenrir. It had appeared again. Its blood-red eyes were like nails fixed on everyone present. The pressure radiating from it nearly suffocated the white-haired man, his face turning visibly pale. Despite her resolve to come back here, Sharon was beginning to fall into a spiral of guilt and confusion. Was attempting a re-raid the right choice? Am I leading everyone to their deaths? Shouldn't I have asked for help from other S-rank hunters? No, I can't ask for help from other S-rank hunters. This raid isn't a simple matter. This is a stepping stone for the SH group to enter the hunter industry. Therefore, I must carry it out with the strength of the SH group. The SH group must make a name for itself through its own power. Siwoo, as if sensing no danger, calmly spoke to the camera. "Everyone that is the legendary monster Fenrir, also known as the demon wolf. Fenrir is a mythical creature that only appears in legends." "What's that you're asking if it's really Fenrir?" "I'm not sure myself. I guess we'll have to fight it to find out." While still holding the camera, his voice calm and playful, Siwoo's entire body tensed, waiting for Fenrir's attack. "Am I not the one who conquers everything in the world conqueror? Even if it is Fenrir the wolf that devours the world, it's nothing." "Are you ready?" suddenly asked Sharon, was caught off guard. "Huh?" Siwoo tried to relax his facial muscles as much as possible, but he still looked extremely fierce. He declared, "Now, the first strategy of the Fenrir raid." Then, using the same old trick he learned from Hercules, Siwoo stomped one foot down, creating a phantom strike. The dense wave of mana that spread out made it impossible for her to open her eyes. Once she could clearly see again, the sight before her made her freeze completely. Seeing Siwoo leap into the air to launch an attack, Fenrir exclaimed in shock, "Since when was he?" Seeing him preparing to attack, Fenrir didn't stay still. It swung its claws, wanting to swat away this insolent human. Seeing it attack, Sharon screamed out a warning in terror, "Watch out!" Its claw came down without any mercy, its force powerful enough to shatter the ground. Looking down at its feet and seeing no one, it glanced around suspiciously. "He's not here. Where did he go?" Siwoo had dodged it. In that moment, he appeared like a flash of lightning to Fenrir's left. His fist clenched, muscles tensing as a considerable amount of mana flowed into his hand. Without hesitation, Siwoo punched Fenrir straight in the face. It cried out in pain. If the white-haired man hadn't cast a magic shield, the squad members would have been sent flying by the force. Scarface cried out in terror. "What the hell is going on?" The aura around Fenrir suddenly turned black, swirling upwards. It seems Siwoo's punch had enraged it. A red light shone from its eyes, sending a chill down everyone's spine. After throwing a full power punch, Siwoo was drenched in sweat. He couldn't believe the blow hadn't hurt it at all. "Damn it, I landed a direct hit, but it's completely unfazed. This is so frustrating." But Hercules said this attack would be effective. Enraged, Fenrir focused its chase on Siwoo. He could only dodge, not daring to face it head-on a second time. Explosions boomed continuously. Siwoo was blown backward, a grim look on his face. Seeing that Siwoo could no longer fight Fenrir, Sharon turned to the protection squad and said, "We have to step in." They had no choice but to obey. "Yes, ma'am." Sharon took the lead, rushing towards Fenrir. Siwoo sensed her approaching and quickly glanced over. Just then, it struck again with its claws. Siwoo quickly fell back to dodge the attack. Seeing the speed of its attacks and the powerful force radiating from it, Siwoo couldn't even lie to himself anymore. Shit. Could it be that wolf? No. This Fenrir is the real deal. Against this kind of Fenrir, it would probably only take a minute. 1 minute. 1 minute until I'm torn to shreds. 1 minute my ass, I can't even last 10 seconds. Hercules' strategy is useless. It only worked because he's Hercules. But there's still Gleipnir, the chain that binds the mighty wolf Fenrir. As long as those shackles hinder its movements, it's not impossible. The situation isn't so bad that we can't win. Just then, a flash of light appeared, carrying a familiar presence. Seeing Sharon appear with a sword that could actually wound it, a glimmer of hope rose in Siwoo. But I can't attack it. And most importantly, Sharon's face was stern, full of killing intent. Blood splattered but couldn't touch her. In pain, Fenrir glared at her with furious eyes. It let out a threatening roar, and a great flame appeared above its head. Watching everyone raise their staffs in unison, channeling mana to form a large fireball, Siwoo felt a sense of teamwork for the first time, and right now, I'm not alone. Seeing this, someone cried out in surprise, "A fireball, so we have a magic hunter." A female squad member saw him letting his guard down and quickly warned, "Be careful." The fireball immediately struck Fenrir's body. Its entire body was engulfed in blazing fire. It threw its head back and let out a long howl. Seeing that it seemed unharmed, the mages attacked with another fireball. "Take this!" But this attack was nothing to it. Fenrir bared its sharp teeth and took a deep breath, sucking the blazing fire right into its mouth. The mages watched this bizarre event in disbelief. Again, it swallowed the fireball. Then Fenrir tilted its head back and absorbed all the magic into its body. Everyone couldn't believe it could do that. Did it really just eat it? Seeing the situation was bad, Scarface quickly drew his shield and roared, "Don't fall back!" Siwoo moved forward and reminded her in a low voice, "Get ready to attack. If you look closely, you'll see a shackle bound to its body." "You noticed it too, right?" Sharon nodded carefully, signaling that she understood. Then she pushed off the ground and shot towards Fenrir like an arrow. Her attack speed was so fast it was almost invisible to the naked eye. All they saw was Fenrir roaring in pain while the mages in the back shot flames at it. Siwoo steadied his mind. He took a long breath, focusing his energy. Calm down, and focus on all your senses. As his mind calmed, Siwoo's strength gathered once more. As Fenrir was trying to fight off the attacks from Sharon's group, it sensed danger. When it glanced over, Siwoo was already right on top of it. "This punch of yours is aimed right at the tip of its nose." Fenrir tried to block, swinging its claws, but only hit empty air. Siwoo reappears above its head, hovering in the air as his fist gathers mana, preparing to punch down. The power he wields now is SS rank super strength. A faint image of Hercules overlaps with Siwoo. This punch carries world-destroying power. Fenrir senses this as well and continuously backs away. Seeing Fenrir retreat and watch him warily, Siwoo thinks happily, "It's working. All right, then I'll just keep attacking." Suddenly, a sense of danger makes him freeze. Fenrir strikes with incredible speed, its claws slashing a line across Siwoo's chest. His body falls to the ground like a puppet with its strings cut, blood spraying from the wound. Looking at the gash on his chest, Siwoo thinks in terror, "That was too close. If I had reacted a split second slower, that attack would have ripped my body to shreds." Wait a minute, I'm not sure. But right before it hit me, it hesitated for a moment. He looks at Sharon, who is trying her best to fight it. He looks into her determined eyes, brimming with killing intent. A strange thought enters Siwoo's mind. It's definitely not trying to kill me, but why? The pain makes Fenrir roar in anger. Its wound catches Siwoo's eye. He tries to steady his mind and get back up, looking for another chance to fight. "Stop overthinking this. I have to seize this opportunity right now." He shoots forward like an arrow. Siwoo appears under its chained paw. Then he punches with all his might. Fenrir's entire body collapses backward. It then stabilizes itself. Seeing its paw about to stomp down, Siwoo shouts, "Now!" He grabs the chain on its leg. Fenrir's eyes widen in surprise. From below, Siwoo uses his strength to pull the chain, preventing it from moving. It turns its head and roars furiously. Seeing it struggle more violently, Siwoo frantically puts more power into his grip. Then he swings the chain with all his might, executing a shoulder throw. Seeing her chance, Sharon immediately rushes in. After completing the shoulder throw, Siwoo turns around at top speed. He plants himself firmly holding the chain tight. Fenrir's eyes dart towards the charging Sharon. She draws her sword and slashes down with all her strength. Watching their perfectly coordinated attack, Whitehair and Scarface can't help but exclaim, "They're insane!" The area falls silent. A huge crater has appeared before everyone. Everyone burst into cheers. "I'm alive! We did it!" Suddenly, a cracking sound shatters the moment. Siwoo is sent flying backward like a broken doll. Seeing this, everyone trembles in fear. What's going on? No way. A dark aura begins to gather. Fenrir isn't dead. It appears once more, its roar filled with rage. Seeing that it's practically unharmed, Scarface begins to tremble uncontrollably. This is a battle we can't win. Fenrir opens its massive jaws as if to devour these insolent humans. As his body was thrown back, a single question appeared in Siwoo's mind. Why? But why Fenrir, bound by Gleipnir, was supposed to be sealed away. However, it's still the demon wolf that devoured the world, a beast that once killed gods. Fenrir is Fenrir. At my current level, attacking it is impossible. It's so strange. The more I think about it, the stranger it gets. Seeing it seemingly go berserk, Sharon shouted in fear, "Everyone run, hurry up and take Siwoo with you!" As someone pulled him up, Siwoo remained lost in his own thoughts. This is just like what happened in the Black Troll dungeon. She saved her team members just like this. No matter how hard we try, we can't defeat Fenrir. But why? Then a bold thought struck Siwoo, making his entire body go rigid. A glint appeared in his eyes. Siwoo finally understood why Fenrir hadn't torn them to shreds. I finally get it. I can't believe I'm only realizing this now. How could I have been so stupid? It never made sense from the start. The white-haired man supporting him asked worriedly, "Hey, can you move?" "What are you doing?" Sharon, still not giving up, fought Fenrir, hoping to carve a bloody path for everyone to escape. Seeing him appear, she froze and called out, "Mr. Siwoo!" Watching Fenrir just roar in his face without attacking, Siwoo became even more certain of his guess. Just as I thought. It's not attacking, it's just looking at me. Seeing him just standing there dumbfounded, she asked in a panic, "What are you doing? Are you crazy, Run?" Instead of leaving, Siwoo slowly stepped forward. It never made sense from the very beginning. I don't know about an S-rank hunter party, but with our current party attacking it, we never stood a chance of winning from the start. That's why it felt so strange. Why aren't I dead yet? How did everyone else make it back alive? Why hasn't a single person died? Sharon listened, but couldn't make heads or tails of it. What do you mean? Without turning back, Siwoo calmly explained, "You still don't get it. If Fenrir wanted to, it would have already killed all of us. No one here would have survived." Hearing this, Scarface looked confused. "Then how are we still alive?" Siwoo stated the answer plainly. "It spared you. The reason why Han Sharon and her teammates survived is because it doesn't want to kill people. It's telling you to run because it doesn't want to hurt any of you." Of course, even I find it hard to believe, but when you think about it carefully, Fenrir never attacked first. If it were a typical monster, that would be completely illogical. Before Fenrir destroyed Asgard, right after it was born, it was abandoned. From that moment, it had to endure hunger and loneliness, but it was resilient. It never gave up and fought to survive. Word of Fenrir's birth spread, and a god of Asgard came to find it. He held a chain in his hand and asked playfully, "I hear you're pretty strong. Think you can break this chain?" Fenrir obediently nodded. Fenrir didn't even resist the gods. To the wolf, it was like an invitation to play. Having always been lonely, it felt like it had finally made friends. Seeing the chain shattered to pieces, the god cried out in a mix of shock and excitement. Even Thor couldn't break this. Fenrir was overjoyed, believing it had befriended a god. But the gods did not see it that way. The gods feared that such power would bring about hell, so they created Gleipnir to bind it forever. And so it happened again. Fenrir thought there must be some misunderstanding and grew suspicious. Tyr approached gently and swore an oath to it. "If you cannot break this, and the gods do not release you, you may bite off my left hand." The god of war Tyr, a god named Tyr, personally came to it and swore this oath. Fenrir trusted Tyr. While all the others ignored Fenrir, Tyr was the only god who came to it, bringing it food on that barren land. Because he was a friend. And just like that, Fenrir was sealed by Gleipnir, unable to escape. As expected, the gods did not release it, and Tyr ignored it as well. As promised, Tyr placed his left hand inside Fenrir's mouth. His head was bowed, hiding the guilt on his face. His voice was hoarse with sorrow. "Fenrir, I have failed you." Even so, Fenrir didn't want to bite Tyr's hand. It didn't want to do it. However, the gods, fearing Fenrir's power, jammed a sword into its jaw, forcing its mouth open. Fenrir had to endure the chain until Ragnarok came, still just as lonely in endless pain. After Ragnarok began, the fury of the apocalypse consumed Fenrir, and it began to devour the world and destroy the gods. Even so, Fenrir still did not kill Tyr, because even when its mind was clouded with rage, it did not forget. Its only friend, the one who fed it. The image of it wagging its tail and rushing to Tyr like a child flashed through Siwoo's mind. He felt both pity and a sense of ridicule for it. Fenrir had always seen Tyr as a friend, likely due to its own innocence and naivety. The Fenrir of legend wasn't just a wolf. It deserved to be called a bloodthirsty demon wolf. He looked up at it and declared in a firm voice, "Fenrir doesn't want to hurt us." Hearing this, the team members were skeptical. "What are you talking about? You really expect us to believe that?" Karen then spoke coldly, "But we still have to eliminate it. If we ignore an S-rank dungeon and it breaks, the situation will be catastrophic. Even if a dungeon break doesn't happen, if Fenrir gets out, there's no guarantee it won't harm people. We will retreat and report to the association. They can send S-rank hunters to assist. I am abandoning the raid on this dungeon." Siwoo knew her concerns were valid, but deep down he resisted. Sharon is right. To prevent a potential disaster, we have to kill Fenrir. I don't know why it's here. Could it be? Fenrir was abandoned again. In the myths, the apocalyptic power known as Ragnarok severed Gleipnir, allowing Fenrir to escape. But for some reason, it's been bound by Gleipnir again. Was Fenrir abandoned here too? This dungeon is being used as a barrier to trap Fenrir so it can't escape anywhere else. Just like in the myths, it was cast out from the moment it was born. It might just die here all alone. That also explains why the dungeon is S-rank. The mana of the dungeon itself, the very thing imprisoning Fenrir, is what was measured, not Fenrir's own mana. The power required to trap even a weakened Fenrir is rated S-rank. Seeing him just standing there, Sharon frowned and urged, "Let's go." The fact that he could only watch helplessly as Fenrir was abandoned once more made Siwoo's heart ache. "I can't help it. With my current strength, there's nothing I can do for Fenrir. If we just leave like this, it'll all be over. Fenrir has no intention of hurting anyone. Even if it kills a few people when we come back later, it's not even chasing us right now, because it's naive, just like in the myths. Once we leave this dungeon, everything will be over. Not even Fenrir could stand against a party of S-rank hunters. They'll assemble a team and clear this dungeon. If Fenrir is chained up like this, it'll be attacked for sure. And that'll be the end of it. That way it won't be a danger to anyone else. Fenrir must be eliminated. It's fine if we just leave. I just need to do what I always do. Just go back to my everyday life. Crafting gear and making new tube videos, earning money, training my gobtube traits so I can take care of Sioa. That's all that matters. That's all I need to do. But why can't I move my feet? Sharon's doubtful voice called out, "Siwoo. Siwoo, what are you doing?" Without hesitation, Siwoo's feet began to move, running toward Fenrir. Seeing him return, it did nothing but let out a howl as if to drive him away. Siwoo's gaze fell to the iron chains that bound it tightly. Its paw was bleeding from an injury, its dark red blood staining a patch of the ground. Its innocence and kindness made Siwoo's heart ache again. An abandoned wolf. Fenrir has never hurt anyone. It hesitates to harm someone even when it might get hurt itself. But in the end, a dungeon monster and a magical beast are both threats to humans, so we have to eliminate them. It can't be allowed to live. It's unfortunate, but there's no other way. The gods of Gobtuba, they never give up no matter the circumstances. They don't even lose unwinnable fights. They never give up even in an endless battle because they overcome the impossible and ultimately become heroes. If there's no path, then I'll make one myself by destroying this dungeon. Hearing this, a horrified Sharon shouted, "Siwoo, what do you think you're doing?" He focused his mind, feeling the power course through his body and sensing the dungeon's structure. A plan solidified in his head. The problem is this dungeon. It's a barrier imprisoning Fenrir and a threat if it breaks. If I destroy this dungeon... Realizing what he was planning, the others spoke in disbelief. No way! To destroy a dungeon is to shatter space itself. Only a god could do that. How is that possible? Amid their doubts, Siwoo cleared his mind and tried to enter a divine state. It's still a little dangerous to use this much power, but I can't stop and I won't stop. Rivers don't drink their own water, trees don't eat their own fruit, the sun doesn't shine for itself, and flowers don't spread their fragrance for themselves. And a true gentleman does not act for himself. That sounds like something a real scholar would say. All I can do is laugh because no one would ever acknowledge it and I wouldn't even make a single penny from it. However, if you can remain calm even when others don't recognize you, isn't that true strength of character? A gentleman does not get angry even when the world does not recognize him. I don't know anything about a gentleman's character, but these days that's just enough to get you called a pushover or an idiot. But for some reason, I just want to be a decent person. Not someone who is good for my own sake, but someone who is good to those around me. I don't know why, but those thoughts suddenly popped into my head after watching that video about Confucius and after seeing the state of Fenrir's wounds. That thought just came to me. And so, Hercules' sacred martial art. The flow of Siwoo's divine power startled Fenrir, its pupils widening in astonishment. Siwoo recalled the words he'd been told when this technique was explained to him. Hercules had said that the sacred martial art wasn't just for fighting. It was like bending the very laws of the world. It wasn't just about using super strength. Space is the most fundamental law that builds the world. Siwoo no longer hesitated and unleashed his power. First form. At that moment, Siwoo was like an incarnation of Hercules. His body flew into the air, his left leg raised high, ready to strike. On his resolute face, Siwoo's pupils disappeared, leaving only the divine light radiating from his eyes. This move is called Falling Dragon Kick. A terrifying amount of mana radiated from Siwoo into the air. Then it suddenly became so intense it felt like it would destroy everything. A shockwave shot out in all directions and the brilliant white light was blinding. After a moment, the space gradually fell silent. Suddenly, a crack appeared in the sky, then slowly spread out like a spider web. The dungeon said to be indestructible collapsed just like that before Sharon's eyes. A look of horror mixed with disbelief appeared on her face. No way. What the hell is going on? When she lowered her gaze, she saw Siwoo lying unconscious on the ground, his condition unknown. Rushing over to check his breathing, Sharon let out a sigh of relief. He was still alive. The barriers in the dungeon were gradually shattering. The sound of footsteps made Sharon turn around warily. Before them was Fenrir. Thanks to Siwoo, the shackles on its feet were slowly disappearing. Knowing it wouldn't attack, she paid it no mind and gently lifted Siwoo's head. Memories of their first meeting and fighting side by side flooded Sharon's mind. Once again, her perception of him was changing. I knew he wasn't just some awakened without an attribute, not since I saw him in the Black Troll dungeon. What kind of monstrous power is this? It brought down the entire dungeon. Now is not the time to be impressed. Before leaving, Sharon glanced at Fenrir one last time. It just looked at her calmly as if to say, go on. She averted her eyes and supported Siwoo, leaving the place under Fenrir's lingering gaze. Looking at the unconscious Siwoo, she told herself, we have to get out of here before the dungeon completely collapses. Lying in a hospital bed, his body almost completely wrapped in bandages, Siwoo's eyes suddenly flew open. He stared wide-eyed at the ceiling, thinking in disbelief, I'm still alive. It looks like I'm in a VIP room at SH Hospital, which means... Sharon, with an IV drip in her hand, asked worriedly, are you okay? Siwoo asked her confused, why are you here, Miss Sharon? She helplessly raised the hand with the IV needle in it and replied, as you can see, I'm a patient too. Are you uncomfortable? Siwoo forced a smile and thought, of course I am. Would you be comfortable in my shoes? Who wouldn't like being with a pretty girl? No, it's just as Confucius said. After the age of 7, boys and girls should not share the same mat. Boys and girls shouldn't be in the same room after 7. So how did this happen? What the hell am I thinking? Seeing Siwoo's dazed expression, Sharon asked hesitantly, don't you want to know what happened? Siwoo wasn't surprised. After thinking for a moment, he figured it out. Before the dungeon collapsed, you got me out after I passed out Miss Sharon. And after extensive treatment, I woke up. Am I right? Siwoo was met with Sharon's bewildered face. Seeing her expression, he froze like a child who'd done something wrong. Did she not like that I was too correct? Just then she spoke up to confirm, just as you said, the dungeon collapsed. Ultimately, it was considered a successful raid. At that moment, yesterday's news appeared on the screen, but her face was pale, showing no sign of joy. Below was the headline, Han Sharon, representative of the SH Hunters Guild, finally conquers the S-rank dungeon. Hearing this, Siwoo just replied faintly, what a relief. Remembering it, he quickly asked, what happened to Fenrir? She seemed to hesitate when this was brought up. I don't know. If you're talking about that wolf, I saw it leave and go somewhere. Siwoo wasn't too surprised by this. Since the dungeon that was considered Fenrir's prison had collapsed, thankfully it could return to the divine realm safely. Sharon looked at him seriously and explained the current situation. Right now, I'm not revealing what happened in the dungeon. I've also asked my teammates to keep quiet. The official announcement will be that we were the ones who conquered the dungeon. But if you want, we can change that. Siwoo understood what she meant by change that. A bit stunned, he asked, "You mean you'll change it to say I was the one who conquered it?" Sharon replied without a hint of hesitation. "That's right." Siwoo didn't care about this at all and answered casually, "Just leave it as you being the one who conquered it, Miss Sharon." Hearing his refusal, she paused and asked, "Is there a reason you're hiding your power?" Siwoo was stunned by that and quickly explained, "Hiding my power, me. No, that's not it. If something like that becomes an issue, I won't be able to do NewTube anymore." She didn't expect that to be his only reason. Siwoo didn't notice her reaction and continued, "Although I don't intend to hide my powers depending on the situation, it's necessary for the SH group to be recognized as the conqueror of an S-rank dungeon. That's why I want you to be the one who conquered it, Miss Sharon." Even so, Sharon still seemed hesitant. But Siwoo realized what was troubling her. She's probably doubting her own abilities. She's worried if it's okay to make that announcement. Even though she doesn't have the skills to conquer an S-rank dungeon, this dungeon was just special. Miss Sharon is perfectly capable of raiding S-rank dungeons. Hearing the comforting tone in his voice, she looked up. "Are you trying to comfort me?" He gently corrected her. "No, I'm just telling the truth." Finally, the two of them locked eyes. His sincere smile caught Sharon's gaze. Knowing that he truly thought of her that way, she smiled happily. "Thank you." Seeing that her mood had lightened, Siwoo chuckled and teased her. "Is that all? Is that everything you wanted to say?" She shook her head. "No, there's one more thing I want to ask. Would you like to work with me?" By now, the evening glow had settled over Siwoo's hospital room. His voice rang out, "This is insane!" In his hand was a phone emitting a dazzling light. Following that were a series of system notifications. Insight proficiency S plus 36.5% plus 11.7%. Superhuman strength proficiency SSS 18.98% plus 13.1%. Divine martial arts proficiency SSSS 9.38 plus 9.3%. Gentleman's dignity proficiency SSSS 3.61% plus 3.1%. Siwoo stared at the endlessly rising stats, his jaw hanging open in shock. Remembering how training like a dog every day couldn't compare to a single dungeon run, Siwoo couldn't believe his eyes. Just 1.3%. Superhuman strength proficiency SS only went up 0.3 or 0.4% each day, and it just jumped by 13%. Divine martial arts only increased by 0.01% per week, and it just went up by 9.3%. What's more, the proficiency for insight and gentleman's dignity also went up a ton. Was it because of the dragon subduing strike? Until now, everything I've posted on NewTube has been about destroying dungeons. An image of him destroying a dungeon not long ago appeared in his mind. The scene gradually shifted to the cracking space and Sharon's stunned silhouette. Even now, Siwoo couldn't believe he had received such high stats. But what I destroyed this time was the dungeon's space itself, because the dungeon collapsed on its own. And this is what happened to me. It's just like when I faced the black troll. I passed out right after using my power. Compared to my past self, just being able to use divine martial arts is a huge step forward. I wonder when I'll be able to use it completely. I just wanted to give it a shot. Who would have thought Sharon would agree to it just like that? At that moment, she appeared and got into a car driven by Minjai, who had come to pick her up. Her emotionless voice rang out, "Take me to the chairman." He replied respectfully, "Yes, ma'am. Thank you for your hard work on this raid. The chairman is also very pleased." Her expression didn't change at all as she replied, "That's a relief." Just then, Minjai asked about Siwoo. "What did Mr. Siwoo say?" At the mention of his name, Sharon jumped. "What?" He saw her expression in the rear-view mirror and asked with a smile, "Did he turn you down again?" She paused for a second, then replied, "He did." Hearing that, he just chuckled and asked, "What did he say this time?" Sharon recalled Siwoo's words and relayed them. He said something like, "A gentleman works alone, not in a group. On the other hand, only scrubs form crews." This arrogant statement immediately shocked him. "What?" Thinking of Siwoo, she couldn't help but smile. That's why, instead of being colleagues or teammates, he said we could cooperate occasionally like this time. He asked if I wanted to learn swordsmanship. Min-jae asked doubtfully, swordsmanship. Wait a minute, does that mean Mr. Siwoo is going to teach the young Miss swordsmanship? I admit he has special abilities, but isn't he a D-rank awakened? Contrary to his expectation that she would refuse, Sharon said with great enthusiasm, "That's why I said I'd give it a try." Hearing this, Min-jae seemed to understand something, but still asked, "So the reason we're going to see the chairman is—" Amidst the roar of the engine, her voice rang out, "I think I need to pay my tutoring fees." Back at the hospital, Siwoo seemed to be caught in a dilemma. He stared at his phone screen, not knowing which one to choose to teach Karen. I don't know which one is the best. King Xiangyu's heaven-shattering divine sword. Dragon-slaying, Siegfried's dragon-slaying sword technique. The founder of the Wudang sect, Zhang Sanfeng's Taiji sword. I think these three sword techniques would suit Han Charon the best. One of these three must be the sword technique Han Charon likes best. I should show them to her and let her choose. I'll have to pay a membership fee, but that's not a big deal. Besides the 10 billion won, I'll also be getting a monthly tutoring fee from now on. Let's just check the membership fee. 200 million each. Wait a sec. 2 billion? What the hell? Not 200 million, but 2 billion? Why is it so expensive? The Confucius channel was 1 billion, but this is even more expensive. No way. Hold on. Don't tell me. The last time I checked, it was 100 million, right? The fee jumped to 2 billion. Does that mean the more channels I subscribe to, the higher the membership fee gets? So the next one will be 3 billion, no, maybe 4 billion or 5 billion or even more. Wait, if it keeps increasing like this, I can't choose all three. Even if it only increased by 1 billion, the total membership fee would be 9 billion. I could just subscribe once and then cancel, but can I do that after becoming a member? What if I can't cancel? Does that mean I'd have to pay 9 billion every month? No. But if I don't pay, it'll cancel automatically, even if I only choose one sword technique to teach Han Sharon. The fee for the next membership I join will also increase because the channels I'm subscribed to stack on top of each other. No matter how much money I make, it never feels like it's enough. A familiar sensation made Siwoo, who was clutching his head in agony, freeze. His eyes darted behind him. This feeling stunned him. This energy and presence. It didn't belong to a human. Siwoo sat up and lightly rotated his ankle, wanting to move toward the source of that strange energy. As he passed a large tree trunk, what he saw was Fenrir in its infant form. He didn't recognize it at that moment. What a dog. But that familiar feeling washed over him again. Its tail spun around in excitement. Looking at the small dog with an X-shaped mark on its nose, wagging its tail excitedly at him, he called out its name with suspicion. "Fenrir,